Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about What If Deku Had a Waiting Heart Part 1. If you guys enjoy this What If and want to see Part 2, comment down below and let me know before I start. Please do support for more awesome content and leave a like, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel and also share this video with your friends and check out the description in my playlist. The author of the story zuldxx from Wattpad. So let's start the video. This story follows along the original plot of My Hero Academia but obviously has its own twist to it. This story is meant to be purely for the enjoyment of reading and not to offend anyone. Y/N will go by she/her/hers pronouns, so I'm sorry if it's otherwise. Sad face. I do not own any of the characters from nor the anime My Hero Academia, since I wrote/am writing this story out of my own longing and as a way to express my creativity. There are no scheduled updates. I'm sorry. Lastly, please be mindful of the Wattpad community. I wrote this story when I was just starting off high school, so I'm sorry if it's very cringy. 𝗎𝗓𝗧𝗏 10 years ago, why Ryu being so mean, the small voice quavers, you're making him cry Kaken. A young boy with black and green wavy hair stands helplessly in front of his classmate who is laying on the ground crying. He's standing in a fighting position, protecting the boy. If you keep on hurting him, I won't forgive you. Another young boy with sandy blonde hair gives an evil smirk to the vulnerable boy. Even though you're quirkless, you still try to be a hero. The boy with blonde hair makes a fist and punches his other hand, creating an explosion while he smiles at the frightened boy. Deku? Deku steps back in fear while Kaken and his two other friends charge towards the two helpless boys. But before any one of them can even lay a finger on Deku, a young girl with 𝗧𝗓𝗧𝗏 hair screams and the three boys fly backwards. She wipes her nose, then walks over and stands tall in front of Deku and the other crying boy. She makes her way towards the bullies once she sees the shock in their eyes. Kaken sits up, grabbing his arm. Oh ouch. What the dash? Don't ever mess with anyone like that. The girl shouts in their faces, or I can send you all flying back again. She takes a few steps closer and two of the boys scramble away, except for Kaken, who's still sitting on the ground holding his arm. He glares at the girl with his beady yet large red eyes. Don't tell me what to do, you're just a girl. He then gets up and trudges away. The girl doesn't pay attention to his comment and hurries back over to help Deku and the other boy. Are you guys okay? She asks. Deku looks into the girl's 𝗎𝗓𝗧𝗏 eyes. Why yeah, thank you for helping us, Deku says shyly. They were being mean, the girl responds. We should take him to the nurse. Deku stares at the girl and her pointed finger and nods his head. You're Y/N right? Y/N turns her head to Deku and smiles. Yeah. Her smile plants one on Deku as well. And you are Deku? She asks. Izuku Midoriya. Actually Deku is what Kaken calls me to make fun of me, he responds embarrassed. She pauses. But I like Deku. His eyes widen and his cheeks turn pink. Is it okay if I call you that? She asks. Deku, speechless, just nods. She smiles once again and the two of them help the boy up and make their way to the nurse's office. It's recess and Y/N is found sitting on the wooden bench next to the playground, picking at the leaves off of the nearby bush. She looks up and spots Kaken, Bakugo, and his two friends playing in the distance, acting like idiots. Bakugo spots Y/N staring at him and his friends and sticks his tongue out at her. She rolls her eyes and continues back to inspecting the leaf she had picked. As she traces the lines of the leaf with her small finger, she feels someone sit down next to her. She turns her head to see that the shy boy who she helped yesterday had sat down next to her. Hi Deku, she happily says. Hello, he responds, resting his hands in his lap yet his body tense. Has Bakugo been bothering you today? And no, but he keeps giving me bad looks. He's so annoying, she says, throwing the leaf, which ends up falling to her feet instead. Izuku doesn't say anything and just watches her actions as Y/N goes to pick another leaf from the bush. Who do you usually hang out with? Izuku finally asks curiously. No one, she responds immediately. Oh yup, she says, tearing the leaf into bits. The bell rings, bringing the awkward conversation to an end, and Y/N dumps the leaf pieces onto the ground as she starts to head back to her classroom. Wait, Y/N, Izuku calls. She turns around. Do you want to play with me after school? He nervously asks. She pauses. Ari? Yes. She puts a genuine smile on. Sure. Let's meet outside the school. Izuku nods and waves to her as they go to their separate classes. Izuku is the first one to get out of the school, so he waits for 𝗎/N by the gate. He holds onto the straps of his backpack as he stands anxiously. His small eyes scan the crowd of kids looking for the one girl, until finally he spots her with a big smile on her face. They both walk towards each other, meeting halfway. So what are we doing? She asks. Well, I was thinking we can go play at my house. Izuku says in return. Okay with me. Is your mom picking us up? No, I walk home from school. Alrighty, let's get going then. She says, beginning to walk down the sidewalk. Wait, don't you need to let your mom know? He asks, stopping 𝗎/N. Nah, she says, starting to walk again. Izuku pauses but continues to follow 𝗎/N. It's been about 5 minutes since they left school and should arrive at Izuku's house soon. 𝗎/N and Izuku walk side by side on the sidewalk. So how old are you? 𝗎/N asks. I'm 6. No way, so am I, she exclaims. Really? 𝗎/N nods. I thought you were younger than me. Maybe it's also because we're not in the same class. Why, yeah. Izuku stares at 𝗎/N as she looks down at her feet, watching her walking pattern. What's your quirk? Izuku asks. She looks up and over at him. The force, huh? The force. 𝗎/N giggles. At least that's what others have called it. It's actually called some really weird word starting with a T, but I forget. Wow, that's so cool, Izuku says with his eyes widened. How about you? Izuku pauses and his smile turns to a frown. I don't have one, 𝗎/N gasps. Wait, really? I'm sorry, it's okay, I'll still try to strive and become the greatest hero. He says, turning his hand into a fist. 𝗎/N smiles again. Both of us, together, will become the greatest heroes. She grabs Izuku's hand and raises it in the air with hers. Izuku blushes as she did so. Do you mind if you show me your quirk again when we get to my house? Yes. Of course. The two of them make it outside of Izuku's apartment structure and he leads 𝗎/N inside. They reach his apartment and he slowly opens his front door. He calls as the two walk in through the doorway. I'm over here, Izuku. His mother calls back. Izuku follows her voice, which leads them into the kitchen. How was your day? Who's this? She asks, smiling at 𝗎/N. This is 𝗎/N. I just met her yesterday. Izuku introduces. 𝗎/N smiles and waves. Hi, well, it's nice to meet you. I'm making an after-school snack that should be ready in a few minutes, his mother says, turning back to the stove. Okay, I'm going to show 𝗎/N my room, Izuku says. 𝗎/N follows behind him as they reach his room. Wow, you love All Might too. She squeals. Of course. He's the greatest hero ever. He responds, raising a fist in the air. 𝗎/N smiles in return and continues to look around his room curiously. Izuku watches her, then nervously asks, so 𝗎/N, can you show me your quirk again? I want to see it before we eat. 𝗎/N looks up at him. Oh yeah. She pauses, looking around his room as if she is trying to find something. Izuku watches her closely. This should work, she says, pointing to a pencil laying on Izuku's desk. Izuku's eyes glisten as he waits excitedly for her quirk. 𝗎/N stands on the other side of the room across from the desk and closes her eyes. After a couple seconds, she raises her arm and flexes her palm. Her hand begins to shake more as she concentrates. Izuku stares at 𝗎/N. Her eyes were squeezed shut and beads of sweat began to form on her rosy cheeks. Right before Izuku's eyes, he sees the pencil levitate into the air and smoothly fly towards 𝗎/N. Izuku lets out a gasp. Once the pencil is floating in front of 𝗎/N, she opens her eyes and grabs it while it's still floating. She looks at Izuku with a smile of accomplishment. That was so cool. Izuku shouts, running towards 𝗎/N. You think so? She asks, staring at the pencil she's holding. Izuku bobs his head up and down crazily. You're gonna become an amazing hero with that quirks? 𝗎/N pauses by his compliment. Together we'll be amazing heroes. Izuku, stunned by both of their passion to be heroes, shyly smiles back at her. Muzudafu 8 years ago. It's a warm fall day in Muzudafu. Izuku and 𝗎/N are 8 years old, and it's been 2 years since they met. It's recess and 𝗎𝗪 and Izuku sit on the bench near the bushes as usual together, while the rest of the kids played on the playground. Deku have a new observation like every day. 𝗎 laughs as she watches him mumble to himself while intently writing in a beat-up notebook. Izuku snaps out of his oblivious phase and looks up at 𝗎/n. I just have a lot in mind, that's all. I didn't say I mind, she smiles. Izuku smiles in return and hands 𝗎/n the notebook. Since they've met, they both made a hero journal together to share, in which they wrote down their observations, goals, and achievements. Izuku writes the most about other heroes while 𝗎/n mainly doodles around his writing or writes her journals on other things. 𝗎/n uses her F/C pen and begins to doodle his recent journal. Izuku watches her draw in peace, until Bakugo and his two friends walk by. One of the friends of Bakugo gives Izuku a mocking look. 𝗎/n and Deku sitting on the same bench as always, he sneers, so when Ryu going to kiss her? He won't kiss her because he's Deku, the other boy laughs. Izuku's cheeks turn bright red, as he turns his head away. 𝗎/n looks up at the three without any expression. Bakugo just stares at the two without a word, and the three continue their way to the water fountain. 𝗎/n watches the boys walk away and looks over at Izuku, who is clearly embarrassed. Don't let them get to you like that, they're idiots, she says to Izuku. Why I know, Izuku responds, not understanding if 𝗎/n just heard what they said about the two of them. Anyways, wanna hang out tomorrow? 𝗎/n asks, changing the subject. Sure. Your house. Actually, can we go to yours? You have really good snacks, she shyly says. Is that the only reason why you even hang out with me? Izuku jokingly pouts. I'm just kidding, you know you're my best friend, she says, pulling him in for a side hug. Izuku's heart flutters as he feels 𝗎/n wrap her arms around him. He smiles in return. You are too. After school, 𝗎/n walks home from school and opens the front door to her house that's always unlocked for her. Mom, I'm hungry. Oh, she cuts herself off when she spots her parents sitting together at the kitchen table. Her father stands up and walks over to her while her mother is staring at her tea unmoved. Pack your things, we're moving, her father says with a stern tone. We're moving, we leave Wednesday, so go pack your things, he says, walking away. What's going on? 𝗎/n frantically asks as she drops her backpack on the floor. 𝗎/n, you and your father are going to be moving to New York, her mother finally says. But Mom, what about you? I'm staying here, for my job. This isn't fair. Why can't I stay here with Mom? I don't want to move. 𝗎/n shouts at her father. You don't make the decisions, 𝗎/n. In New York you will be making your quirk even stronger to become the greatest hero, he replies. That's what you want to be, isn't it? It is. But I want to stay with Deku. He's the only friend I've ever had and I can't leave him. She shouts with tears filling her eyes. I won't know anyone. That won't be a problem because you won't be going to a public school anymore, he says, walking up the stairs. From now on it's just training. 𝗎/n's tears begin to flow as she runs to her mother. Her mother her hair with her hand. 𝗎/n, I know it's going to be hard, but trust me, I believe in you. You're going to achieve such amazing things. I still don't want to go, she cries. It will all be worth it. You can come and visit me and Izuku too. 𝗎/n looks up into her mother's soft eyes and nods. But aren't you sad? You and Dad won't be together. Her mother pauses and purses her lips, trying to figure out how to word this to her daughter. Your father and I just need some time away from each other. 𝗎/n spent her whole day packing to leave the next day. Her father already signed her out of school. The worst part was she couldn't see Izuku, and more importantly hasn't told him anything. Her father hasn't even let her leave the house all day. It's the evening now and 𝗎/n has just been sitting in her room, drawing. She gets tired of it eventually and sprawls out across her bed with her hands resting on her stomach. She lets out a big sigh as she stares up blankly at the ceiling. A sudden sound of something hitting her window makes her sit up really fast. She looks over to her balcony door from where the sound came from and she nervously walks up to the door. She moves her curtain to the side and slowly opens the glass door, revealing herself to the cool evening air. She steps out onto her balcony and looks over the rail to spot her small best friend. She gasps, "What are you doing here?" "What do you mean? Where were you today?" Izuku asks, staring up at her. She points up her index finger to tell him 1 second and bolts back into her room and runs down the stairs. Her father is still packing as she runs past her parents' room luckily. She opens her front door and meets Izuku outside. "Is everything okay? Why weren't you at school?" "Yes. I need to tell you something. Are you sick?" he asks, becoming worried. "No, just listen," she says. His mouth turns to a frown, making her sadness from the day before return. "I can't hang out this weekend, or at school anymore because She couldn't finish because of how badly her throat hurt. "Why or what?" She wipes her eyes and turns away from him. Izuku moves so he's in front of her again. He carefully takes her hands away from her face. She looks at him again and he has tears in his eyes also. "Don't cry please, 𝗧𝗏𝗏, you're going to make me cry, why can't you?" Izuku asks again. "I'm moving," she finally says. Izuku lets go of her hands and stands, turning his head away from her, his bangs covering his eyes. 𝗧𝗏𝗏 continues to stand there teary-eyed and begins to fumble with her hands. "Why do you have to go?" he asks, still looking away. "Because of my stupid dad. I don't have any say in this." "But I won't have you anymore," he says, wiping his eyes. She grabs Izuku and wraps her arms around him. The last time she's seen him cry was when Bakugo was teasing him, and that's how they met. As she hugs him, he asks, "Will you ever come back?" She pauses. "I don't know, I hope so." Izuku pulls apart from her and opens his backpack. 𝗧𝗏𝗏 wipes her nose with her finger as she watches him. He takes out their beat-up hero notebook and hands it to her. "Here, take this with you," he says. "This is mostly your notebook though," she says. "Keep it?" "No, I want you to have it," he insists. She stands there holding the notebook, then pulls him in for another hug. "I'm gonna miss you so much, 𝗧𝗏𝗏, he states, hugging her tightly. She closes her eyes as she rests her head on his shoulder. "I'm going to miss you too. Present, New York City, 𝗧𝗏𝗏's POV, 𝗧𝗏𝗏 get down here and train, is the first thing I get to hear in the morning from my dad." I groan and sit up in my bed, rubbing my eyes. I can hear the faint bustling sounds of the city from outside. I look around at my small city apartment room without any natural light. My old room in 𝗬𝗎 always had natural light seeping through the windows at this time of day. I let out another loud groan. "I already trained yesterday though." I scream back, hoping he can hear me through my closed door. "Get down here," he says, starting to sound irritated. I WP the covers off my body, feeling the cold air hit my feet, and walk downstairs still in my sweats. The reason why I moved to New York was because my mother and father separated. I ended up going with my father so he can train and tutor me. I never went to another public school after leaving 𝗬𝗎. My mother, on the other hand, stayed in Japan. My father refuses to let me go and visit her because I need to focus on training. The only possible way I can go back to 𝗬𝗎 is if I get into my dream school, UA. "Let's start off with you surpassing what your quirk could do last week," he says once I meet face to face with him. I nod and follow him to the training room. I was used to this training every week. Once a week, I am to surpass what I can do with my quirk, supposedly to make it more powerful and durable. We make it to the training room and I see the dummy hanging from the ceiling that I've been using my quirk on. "Alright, go," he says while crossing his arms at me. I raise my hand and stretch my arm out towards the dummy in front of me. My new goal is to eventually make the dummy explode with my quirk during my monthly training time span. It's the end of the month now. I open my palm to it and begin to focus all my strength into my hand. I furrow my eyebrows while closing my eyes and feel my hands start to shake. I start to have a hard time concentrating, having different things on my mind. "Think of something that angers you," my dad says, trying to encourage me. I begin thinking back. Now I know what angers me the most, moving away from 𝗬𝗎. I start to think about Deku, how I had to leave him and made him cry. We were only 8, I was holding his small hand when I had to tell him. 8 years have gone by since that day, and I'm sure he has forgotten about me already, even though I still think about him every day. I let out a scream, and before I know it, the dummy explodes, its stuffing being released everywhere around the room. Everything felt slow motion. My father still stands arms crossed and he just nods. I look at him feeling a lot more limp and lightheaded. Very good, go and get some breakfast, he says while walking out of the room. I wipe the sweat off of my forehead with the back of my hand and trudge to the wall trying not to pass out. I notice that my hands felt really cold. I stare at the back of my hand and see BLD. I place a finger upon the cupid bow of my lip to feel something wet and warm. There's BLD running down my nose, which hasn't happened in a while now. I lean my head against the wall, closing my eyes, and begin to cry. A few hours later, after getting my training for the day over with, I decide to spend the rest of my day to myself. I get into my street clothes and grab my bag. Before leaving my room, I spot the hero journal that still sits on my desk from when I pulled it out days ago. I hesitate, then grab it and shove it in my bag. I walk out the apartment structure, setting foot onto the dirty sidewalk of the city. People rush by me in their suits on the phone, and creepy men who give me stares. I put my head down and ignore everyone as I walk along the sidewalk. I decide to go to my favorite cafe so I can hang out in there by myself. A group of teenagers who look about to be my age walk past me, laughing and enjoying themselves. I grit my teeth in envy. I haven't had a friend ever since Izuku. I bet he's made new friends and forgot about me. I make it to the cafe and order my usual drink, then sit down at a table facing the window. I put my bag on top of the table and rest my head on my hand as I look out the window. I watch everyone walk by the glass window and the many buses and yellow cars drive by. I glance over at my bag and see the spine of the notebook. My heart races when I remember that I had put it in there. I pull out the hero journal from my bag and set it on my table. I haven't been able to touch it ever since I first moved here. Every time I looked at it I just felt guilty, but for some reason, today I decided to finally take it with me and read it again. I open the first page to find our names that look like chicken scratch on paper. I smile and continue to flip through. The pages are filled with our goals and future and tons of my doodles in F/ink. The next page I turn is a drawing of me. This grabs my attention for I never recalled it being in here. I look and read it closely. After the description is a picture Izuku drew of me, back when we were 8. I laugh at the attempted portrait of me and feel my eyes start to tear up. "Why/n?" I hear the waiter ask. I quickly wipe my eyes, trying not to make eye contact. "That's me," I say, sniffling. "Coolio, I have your drink," he says, handing it to me. "Thanks," I say, quickly turning back around. I continue staring at the page when I just notice that the waiter still hasn't walked away. I slowly turn to him again and see him bending over, reading F journal. I cover the pages and give him a weird stare. Sorry, it just looked interesting and I started reading it," he says, standing tall again. He looks like a teen, my age or a bit older. "So is that supposed to be you?" he asks, curiously pointing to the page. "Don't you have work to do?" I say back, sounding salty. He kind of gives me a laugh. "Yeah, but I was just curious." "Yeah, it's me." "Wow, is your quirk really the force?" "I'm jealous, mine's not even half that amazing," he says, crossing his arms. I continue to stare at him with a weird look. Sorry, you probably hate me. Well, enjoy your drink," he says, starting to walk away. Relieved he's gone, I take a sip of my drink and look back out the window. You can say I'm not very good at socializing. But don't blame me, blame my dad for not letting me go to an actual school. As I stare out the window, I always try to spot a certain someone but know they're not going to appear. A scream cuts off my imagination and puts me on high alert. Everyone in the cafe looks out the window after hearing the scream as well. I look back out and see a white figure with teal hair. "What the hell is that thing?" someone says behind me. I cringe at the sight of the villain. I then see him holding something to his mouth and taking a bite out of it with red dripping down his mouth. Everyone at the window gasps with horror. "A cannibal!" someone shouts. Everyone call 911. People begin shouting in the cafe. I can't stand to just sit here and watch. My legs take action and I begin sprinting out of the cafe. "Hey Yoda, where are you going?" Hear the waiter from before call me. I ignore him and I run towards the disturbing figure. Everyone is panicking and on the phones, running in hysteria away from the thing. As I get a closer look, he's eating someone's arm with BLD staining his body. My eyes widen. The villain is based off of Ramit from Hunter x Hunter. You can be my next meal after I eat them, he says with a raspy voice pointing towards the hostage family. You won't, I scream at him. He turns his attention back to me and chuckles. Is that so, Beach? He drops the arm he's eating and begins walking towards the family he's captured. I keep imagining All Might to show up, but he's in Mizudafu. He can't possibly save everyone in danger. I decide to take action on my own. The human-like rabbit grabs the child of the family and I scream, "Get away from them," and with that the villain goes flying backwards, hitting a tree in the park. I quickly run to the child the villain was holding and help get him and his family to safety. The crowd also helps take the family somewhere as I deal with the villain. Once I turn back around, the villain is standing in front of me and he swats me across the face, sending me flying. I'm sent backwards, hitting the sidewalk. I sit up in pain with blood running down my cheek and my left wrist swollen. You really are a Beach. Are you one of those wannabe heroes? The villain shouts at me. I'm going to be a hero. I yell back at him, standing up. I quickly try to strategize what to do next. I see a light pole and a tree he's standing in between. The villain laughs at what I had said, "Weaklings like you." I furrow my eyebrows and lift my right hand up at him. "Now what are you doing?" he says, starting to walk towards me. I scream again as my quirk causes the floor beneath him to shake. The light pole and tree are shaken out of the ground. I relax my hand and both objects collapse right onto the villain. The villain lets out a scream of agony as he's crushed by the two objects. Blood drips down my nose and my face now. My hands and feet are turning ice cold, the same feeling from this morning but worse. Did you see that? I hear people say around me in the crowd. She's so young too. That's amazing. What quirk is that? How did she inherit such a quirk? I turn around to see police coming into the scene. Are you alright? They ask me. I feel like I'm going to pass out but still manage to nod. Let's bring her to the hospital, one officer says. She's in a bad state. I don't remember a lot of what happened after, but I do remember going into an ambulance and being rushed to the hospital. Present-day Mizudafu, Izuku's POV. I sit in my middle school classroom during lunch writing in my notebook. I set down my pen and sigh while stretching my arms out in front of me. I take a break and stare out the window where the bright afternoon light shines through. Hey nerd! I hear a familiar voice shout from behind me. I nervously turn around to see Kaken standing at the doorway with his two followers. What you thinking about? He asks with an evil smirk, coming closer to me. I don't respond, just staring at him in hopes he would leave soon. It's a shame 𝑦/n isn't here. You two were quite the pair, he says, standing right in front of my desk. I turn my head, not looking at him. What's this? He asks, picking up my notebook. I gasp. Wait, Kaken. Please give that back. Are you seriously taking notes on how to be a hero? Kaken asks while flipping through it. Pathetic, one of the other boys say, peering behind Kaken's shoulder. Please, Kaken. I say, trying to reach out for it. Before I know it, Kaken burns my notebook and throws it out the window. No. I shout, scrambling out of my seat. I quickly run over to the window and see my notebook floating on top of the small pond. Just face it, Deku. You'll never be a hero. Before I can say anything, they disappear from the classroom. I feel my shoulders droop as I lean against the classroom wall. I walk home after school in the late afternoon sun. The lighting starts to turn the homes and buildings an orange color. This was called the golden hour, just by the way the sun rays turn everything golden. I look up, staring at the clouds roll through the orange sky. I hold my wrinkled notebook to my chest as I continue to walk along the sidewalk, getting closer to my house. Stupid Kaken, I mutter to myself while kicking a rock. I finally make it to my apartment structure and go up to my floor. I open the front door to spot my mom standing behind the couch watching the TV. I close the door and take off my shoes. Izuku, come look at the news, it just came on. She shouts at me. I quickly walk in my socks, trying not to slip, over to the couch and look at the TV. It was the news reporting a villain attack in New York City. Oh man, that's a lot of destruction, I say as I see the concrete torn up and debris on the streets. Wait, New York City, just in, a cannibal villain takes a family hostage, the news reporter states. Luckily the villain has been captured by police forces, but only because a young girl stepped into the scene, stopping the villain herself, before any pro-heroes could come. Oh my mom states, putting her hand up to her mouth. Here are some witnesses of the scene, the reporter says, transitioning. An older man appears on screen with a microphone held to his mouth. I was right by when it happened, before I could even call 911. This young lady sprints towards the scene without hesitation and immediately saves the family. It's amazing, but not as amazing as her quirk. Being so young still, she can achieve such great things with that quirk of hers when she grows up. My mouth begins to open. Another witness appears on screen, except he's a lot younger, maybe a little older than me. I actually was this girl's waiter about 5 minutes before this attack even happened. I briefly talked to her about this journal she was reading. I don't think she liked me that much, but her journal had a description of her and even her quirk. It said she had the force. At first I didn't quite believe it, but right when I saw her use her quirk on the villain, I was in complete shock. 𝗧𝗪𝗢𝗎, I shout. And do you know the girl's name by chance? The reporter asks. I do. Her name was 𝗧𝗪𝗢𝗎, but I didn't catch her last name. 𝗧𝗪𝗢𝗎. My mom gasps, oh my goodness. I wonder if her mother saw this yet. Is she all right? Where is she? I shout at the TV even though I knew I wouldn't get a response. 𝗧𝗪𝗢𝗎 has been rushed to the hospital due to her state of being after stopping the villain, the reporter continues. My heart is at this point. How much I'd give to just go and visit her, to go talk to her again. 𝗧𝗪𝗢𝗎's POV. I slowly open my eyes to find myself on a hospital bed. I quickly sit up and see 𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗟 attached to my arms. I look around the room and I'm alone. I put my hand up to my forehead. 𝗧𝗪𝗢𝗎. Oh good, you're awake, a nurse says, walking in. Oh yeah, here's some food, she says, handing me a tray. Thank you. I stare at the tray laying on my lap and wait for the nurse to walk out. I then put the tray on the counter next to me and try to find my phone. I see it sitting on the counter and I grab it, quickly searching the news. Oh my god, why is it everywhere? I say to myself, putting a hand up to my mouth. I scroll through all the links to different news stations about my rescue and quirk. I have to admit though, it makes me feel good. 𝗧𝗪𝗢𝗎, I hear a deep voice say. I turn my head and see my dad. Oh hi, say normally. He doesn't say anything and he just comes walking towards the bed. You heard? I ask him. Of course I did, he says, slowly walking to my bed as I sit quietly. I'm proud of you. My eyes widen. 𝗧𝗪𝗢𝗎? You really showed your inner hero, he responds. I stay silent. That's the first time I've ever heard my dad say those kind of words to me. Thanks, I say in return. A few days later I'm able to go back home. I feel perfectly fine, but the doctors kept telling me to take it easy after I jumped out of the bed. My father and I take the subway back and we get to our apartment complex. I immediately run to my room once he unlocks the front door. On my bed, I say, flinging myself onto it. I sit upright on it after a few seconds and stare ahead towards my desk. Wait, before I could run to my father, he comes to me first, holding what I was looking for, my journal. Oh good, you have it. I was worried I lost it, I say, taking it from his hand. What exactly is that? I saw Midoriya's name in it also, he asks curiously. I pause. It's our journal. When did you make it? Before we left home, I say with anger in my tone. I don't look at my father, I just hear him sigh. You have today to rest, but we're back on training tomorrow. I make a noise with my throat as a yes in response. He then walks out of my room. I hold the journal up to my chest and just imagine myself back in Mizutofu with my mother and Izuku. I need to take advantage of this opportunity so my imaginations can become reality. Months go by and Izuku has gained his quirk from All Might during this time. The entrance exam has also passed and the UA year had started already. My quirk has gotten stronger over the past couple of months, except I don't know how I'll even get into UA now if my dad didn't even send me to the entrance exams. Ever since the entrance exam dates had passed and acceptance letters have gone out, I've been in a really bad mood. I sit at my lonely kitchen table puffing my cheeks as I eat a bowl of grapes. It's around evening now and my father went out to do errands. My throat begins to hurt. I then hear the front door open and my dad walk in. I wipe my eyes, quickly turning my seat away from him. I hear his footsteps come into the kitchen and set something in front of me. I look ahead and see a white envelope. My name is printed on the front of it and the return address is the address of UA. Holy I say, grabbing the envelope and flipping it to the back. There's a red stamp with the UA symbol printed onto it. I anxiously slice open the envelope and pull out a thickish piece of cardstock paper that's folded into thirds. I open it and read it out loud. Dear L/NY/N, we are happy to offer you admittance into the #1 hero school in the world. I jump out my seat screaming with joy. I made it? How did they hear about your quirk? From the news. My dad asks with wide eyes. I continue reading. We saw your courageous act on the news and your quirk has potential as a hero. We would be happy to help you become a hero with our special class. We hope to see you soon. Signed, Principal 𝗧𝗓𝗧𝗟𝗘. Oh my god, you did it. He shouts with me. I can't help but feel super happy, not just because I got into my dream school, but I've also never seen this side of my dad before. I can't wait to see 𝗧𝗓𝗧𝗏 again. I'll finally become a hero and achieve my childhood dreams. I shout, making a fist. My dad smiles at me. You deserved it. I pause and smile back, then give him a hug. I walk to my room with my body still shaking with excitement. I face plant onto my bed and squeal into my pillow. I flip over on my back eventually and stare up at my ceiling. 3 days later, 𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 gates of the airport. I'm holding my suitcase and carry-on standing in front of him. "Yes, sir," I say sarcastically. He rolls his eyes then smiles. "Good luck?" My smile quivers unexpectedly and I hug him. "Thanks. Don't forget to call me every once in a while to let me know how everything's going," he says. "I won't." We finally separate and I wave him goodbye. Although I can say my dad is one of the biggest I know, he did prepare me for what's ahead. Once I was through security, I text my mom. "𝑦/n, I'm leaving soon, smiley face." After sending the text, I hold my phone up to my chest. I'm already anxious to see her again. I'm even more anxious to see a certain boy. I frown remembering there's no way he could have gotten into UA also. "I can always visit him then," I say out loud, reassuring myself. While walking to my gate, I pass by a family and hear their daughter gasp. "That's the girl. Dad, look, the one who saved that family with her amazing quirk." I turn around to see the girl, who looked to be 10, her eyes widening as she looks into my eyes. She seemed familiar. Indeed, she was a stranger, but she reminded me of myself when I was little. I could tell how nervous she got by how tense she looked, so I smile at her and wave, making her relax again. It's weird having people look up to you like this, but it makes me want to do better in the future. The plane ride was just as long as I expected. I flew out of the JFK airport into 𝗎𝗪𝐬𝐻 City. I stare out my window and look down at the city beginning to appear larger. Once my phone had service, I text my mom again. 𝑦/n landed. A minute later she responds, "Frowny face mom, see you soon." I smile at her text. Once the plane lands, everyone begins to file out of the exit. I grab my carry-on and walk through the narrow aisle. Once I exit the plane and walk through the tunnel connection, my heart begins to race. I step into the fresh, chilly airport and take a deep breath. I look around trying to find someone who looks like my mom from what I can remember of her. 𝑦/n, I flip my head around to see a familiar face smiling at me. Tears fill my eyes. "Mom?" I run into her arms as she hugs me back. She still has the same scent from when I was little. "Oh, you're so appealing," she says, holding my hand. I laugh while wiping my eyes. "𝑦/n, I'm so proud of you. You got into UA." "Thanks, it wasn't easy though," I say in return. "Come on, let's go home," she says, leading me. "I need you to tell me everything." On the car ride home, I tell her about my constant training and the detailed story of my encounter with the villain. My mom was in total shock as I told her the story, and she kept asking questions. I stare out the window of the car and watch the telephone wires and the distant green mountains travel with me. The sky starts to turn a light orange as the sun begins to set. It's my favorite time of day, especially in 𝗎𝗓𝗎. I make it back to my original house I grew up in and already feel the memories start to come back to my head. "I can't believe it's still the same house," I say with a huge smile. I immediately run to my old room and everything is exactly how I remember leaving it. Even my old bed sheets are there, my drawings, photos. I didn't dare to rearrange anything in your room after you left, I hear my mom say. I've only came in to dust and vacuum. Mom, I missed you so much, she says with her eyes tearing up. Mom, don't cry, I say, hugging her once again. I missed you too. There's a brief pause before my mom asks, are you going to go see Izuku? Oh my gosh, yes. I have so much to tell him. But will he remember me? Of course he will, she says as we part. He actually came by about a couple days ago. What's? He stopped by to tell me about you, how you were on the news, and him and Inko brought dinner. Oh my God. I squeal. He remembers me. He went on about how much he missed you, she continues. I can't express how much I've missed him. I say, what time is it? I check my phone and see how late it is, shutting down the plan. I had to go see him now. I then remember I start UA tomorrow. I think I'll visit him after school tomorrow. I need to get unpacked and ready still. It's getting late. Sounds like a good idea, my mom responds before exiting my room. I watch her leave as I begin unpacking. I place everything where I could remember it was before I moved. The whole time I unpack, I just think about Izuku. I wonder what he looks like now, I say to myself. I start to get butterflies just thinking of seeing him again tomorrow. The next day, 𝗧𝗪𝗢𝗏's POV, my eyes shoot open to see my room still dark. I immediately check my phone and see that I had woke up before my alarm even went off. Today's the day. My first step to becoming a hero, I shout as I rip the covers off of my legs. I put on my slippers and walk to my bathroom to get ready. I wash my face, brush my teeth, and put on lightweight makeup to look presentable. I walk back to my room and grab my uniform that's hanging on my chair. I button up my white shirt, put on my skirt and socks, my red tie and the blazer last. I don't do much to my hair except brush it. I smile at the mirror, giving a thumbs up. Once done pampering myself, I walk to my kitchen. My mom already left for work, so I make my breakfast by myself and pack a lunch. Once done with everything, I grab my school bag and exit my front door. Izuku's POV, I get to class at my usual time and see Ida and 𝗎𝗪𝗢𝗏 standing next to each other talking to 𝗎𝗪𝗎𝗓. It's been a few days now since UA has started and we're finally doing training with our quirks. The first day was to see where we were at by doing a series of physical tests using our quirks. It wasn't my forte. Hey guys, I say, walking up to them. Hello Midoriya, Ida stiffly waves. Deku. 𝗎𝗪𝗢𝗏 shouts with a big smile. Her shout reminds me of 𝑦/N from when we were little. 𝑦/N would always yell my nickname like that whenever we saw each other. I can't help but smile a bit. Do you know what we're doing with our quirks today? I ask them. Beats me, who knows what sensei will have for us, 𝗎𝗪𝗎𝗓 responds. The bell rings, so we all start to go to our desks. I sit down and Kaken comes in, sitting in his desk in front of me, giving me his daily glare. I let out a big sigh once he sits in his seat. Good morning class, Sensei Aizawa says lethargically in his yellow sleeping bag. Good morning Mr. Aizawa, the class says in sync. Hope you guys had a resting weekend, he begins as he starts to unzip his sleeping bag. He steps out of it, putting it to the side. Today we will be dash. He's cut off by the sudden opening of the classroom door. It's a girl wearing her uniform with H/L, H/C, hair and E/C, eyes. She has a frantic look on her face as she holds the door open. The whole class turns their attention to her. Hi, I'm so sorry I'm late, I just got lost. It's my first day and I was admitted into class 1A, the girl says, handing Aizawa a sheet of paper. He takes it and nods. Yes, 𝑦/N/L/N, you can go sit in the back next to Shoto Todoroki. Todoroki, raise your hand. There are a lot of murmurs spread throughout the room after Aizawa says her name. That name sounds really familiar, don't you think? Wait, isn't she the girl who fought that villain in New York? DMN, if it is, I can't wait to see her quirk in action. I feel my eyes widen and my mouth fall. I can see Kaken's eyes also widen as we both stare at her walk to the back of the room. She doesn't make any eye contact with anyone as she quickly strolls by with her head down in embarrassment. My head is full of questions and I can't even think straight now. I still stare over my shoulder looking at her as she settles in her seat and takes out her notebook and pencil. She then looks back up, making eye contact with me. I quickly turn away the split second our eyes met. 𝗎𝗪𝗢𝗎𝗪𝗧𝗏 POV. I sit down next to the boy named Todoroki and start pulling out some school materials. I pull out my folder and fan my face, knowing how red it was by that embarrassing entrance. As I look back up, I see a boy with forest green highlighted black hair and big green eyes. Once we make quick eye contact, he turns his head back around. I can't help but continue to stare at the back of him. Alright class, where was I? Oh yeah, today we will be splitting off in pairs and the two of you are to complete your goal dash. What's our goal? A pink-haired girl cuts him off. I was just getting there. There will be two teams, hero and villains. Everyone in this class will be battling each other. The hero's objective is to just touch the villain's weapon, in which the villain team will be protecting. You are to use your quirks in order to either capture the weapon or protect it. Wait a minute, so one team will be the villains? A boy with red spiky hair asks. Yes, it shouldn't matter. Even though I know most of you want to be the heroes since that's what you are all training for, but each requires similar tactics. Now go and get suited up. That being said, the whole class gets up and goes to the USJ. But before that, the entire class gets their customized costumes on. I don't have mine yet since I came in later, so Mr. Aizawa gave me this navy blue UA gym uniform to wear. I'm the first to finish getting dressed, and soon everyone starts to come out. Everyone's costumes look so cool. It makes me excited for mine. I see the green-haired boy come out in a teal suit with a mask. We make eye contact again and he starts walking over to me. My heart races until Mr. Aizawa begins talking to us again. The boy stops walking towards me and turns his attention to the teacher. Alright, here are the teams. 1. Todoroki and 𝐴𝐵/N versus Ojiro and Hagakure. 2. Izuku and Uraraka versus Bakugo and Ida. Continues with teams. The first pair I called are the heroes and the second pair are the villains. I flip my head towards the boy and everything made sense now, kind of. My head is screaming inside with excitement and nervousness. I really want to go up and talk to him again. Ask him how he got into UA, how he's been. But we have to go find our partners and wait until it's our turn to battle. Alright, the first team go into the building while the rest of you wait in the monitor room. I see Izuku take glances at me, as so do I, but I find Todoroki and we head to the building together. We walk side by side in silence until Todoroki breaks it. I heard you also got in on recommendation. I look up at him. Oh, yeah, I did. You too. Todoroki nods. So what's your quirk? We should probably make a plan. I don't really have a name for it, but my father calls it the Force. The Force? Todoroki asks with wide eye. Yeah, and others call it telekinesis. Basically, I can control things with my mind. That sounds like a really powerful quirk, he says. Airy guess, but there are consequences to it. I've been training a lot for it before coming to UA. I haven't been to an actual school for 8 years since my dad is obsessed with me becoming a great hero. I can relate. Oh, really? Yeah, my father was, and still is actually, all about me also becoming one of the greatest heroes. But he's a selfish man, so that's why I refuse to use my left side, he says, lifting his left hand. I start to assume what his quirk was. Fire. Ask, hoping I'm right. He nods. I'm sorry, I say to him. It's fine, it's just tedious. I know how you feel, I respond as we make it to the building. Izuku's POV 𝗎𝗪𝗎𝗪𝗧𝗏 first, and she's teamed up with Todoroki. They both got in on recommendations, so this will be really interesting to watch. Uraraka and I look at the big monitor where All Might is standing in front of. He's to communicate with those battling through a small microphone. He explains the same objective as Aizawa had before, then he yells, "Start." My heart jumps as he says that. I see 𝗎𝗪𝗎𝗪𝗧𝗏 and Todoroki start running through the halls. Ojiro is standing in front of the weapon while Hagakure goes completely invisible by taking off all her clothes. Since they can't see where she is, Todoroki floods the ground with his ice to stop Hagakure in her tracks. 𝗎𝗪𝗎𝗪𝗧𝗏's eyes widen and her mouth drops as she watches Todoroki in action. How did you see 𝗎𝗪𝗎𝗪𝗧𝗏's face? That's the kind of face I want a girl to make when they see quirk, Kirishima says to Kaminari. I blush as he says this. I have to admit I start to feel a bit jealous of Todoroki. Their plan works and footprints are seen imprinted in the ice where Hagakure can't move. Both of them run around her and continue up to where the weapon was. Once they find the floor the weapon is on, Todoroki lets 𝗧𝗪𝗢 do her thing. I look over at Kaken and he's paying close attention now. She raises her arm up with her palm out raised back of hand and pulls the weapon, a rocket, towards her and Todoroki, quickly. What? Kaminari shouts. Wait, how's that moving with just her hand? She's not even touching it. Mina confusedly exclaims. Can she control things with her mind? Kirishima shouts. 𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗟𝗘 glances back and forth at them. Everyone's mouths are dropped by how quickly and smoothly 𝗧𝗪𝗢 moves the rocket. Ojiro starts to panic, so he grabs the railing to the rocket with his tail to try and stop it. But 𝗧𝗪𝗢 starts pulling even harder, causing him to be dragged with the rocket. We can't hear what's going on but only see Ojiro's frightened expression. Todoroki looks at 𝗧𝗪𝗢 with amaze as she pulls it right in front of them. Ojiro still lies on the ground while 𝗧𝗪𝗢 goes and puts a finger on the rocket. The hero team wins. Congratulations, young Todoroki and young 𝗧𝗪𝗢. 𝗧𝗪𝗢 wipes her forehead, closing her eyes, and smiles at Todoroki. Man, that was over in a second. Kaminari shouts. Kaken's mouth is wide open as he looks at the monitor, but he quickly closes it and crosses his arms, acting unamused once again. Wow, that was so hot, Mineta says out loud. I look at him with an uncomfortable look. Don't you think so, Midoriya? Mineta asks, turning to me. My face heats up. He laughs while walking away. Midoriya and Uraraka. Bakugo and Ida. Time for you to go out. All Might shouts at us. Kaken's not in the monitor room anymore, so he probably left already. 𝗧𝗪𝗢's POV. I'm really proud that I got to be Todoroki's partner. I think we make a pretty great team. Good job, Todoroki says to me as we head to the monitor room. I look at him and smile. Thanks, you too. Your quirk is really powerful, you know. Yours is something else though. I was pretty amazed. Says you. I respond, smiling and looking away. We make it to the monitor room and everyone turns their attention to us as we walk through the automatic doors. 𝗧𝗪𝗢. Your quirk is amazing. So is yours, Todoroki. A boy with red spiky hair says, running up to us. Thanks, we say in unison. I'm sorry, but what's your name? I ask to the red-haired boy. Kirishima. Nice to meet you, I smile, shaking his hand. So who's up next? Todoroki asks, walking up to the large screen. Midoriya and Uraraka against Bakugo and Ida. Oh man, this is going to be tough to watch, I say to myself. I think so too, because I heard Midoriya and Bakugo never got along. Wait, how did you know about their relationship if it's your first day? Kirishima asks, skeptical. Oh well, I used to go to school with the two of them before I moved. Wait, what? Kirishima and Todoroki say together. Yeah, I've known them before coming here. No way, so you grew up in Japan? Kirishima asks. Yeah, and I had to move because of my parents' separation. And that's when I trained abroad for the next 8 years of my life. Danning, Kirishima responds with wide eyes while Todoroki looks at me with relation on my half. Whoa, All Might's here. I say topics. All Might stands in front of the large monitor holding a microphone way too small for his hand in front of him. Begin. All Might shouts into the microphone. Todoroki and I look at the large screen and watch Izuku and a girl with short brown hair run together through the halls of the building. Who's she? I ask the two boys, allowing either to answer the question. Ochako Uraraka, Kirishima says first. I nod and turn my head back around. We can't hear what they're saying, but I see a huge explosion happen on screen. Bakugo, I mutter. Bakugo comes out of the big cloud of smoke with the same grin as he had when we were little. Izuku protects the girl from the explosion by throwing himself on top of her. Half of his mask is gone, so I can see his face again. He still wears the same cute freckles as kids. Eventually the girl and Izuku split up, so it's Izuku and Bakugo one-on-one. I see their mouths move and Bakugo throws another explosion at Izuku. I really want to know what they're saying. I shout. Knowing Bakugo, he's probably cursing him out, Kirishima responds. Classic Kaken. Izuku looks like he's in pain, but he's holding up. I feel my hands turn to fists. I want to step in so badly and protect him. Then all of a sudden, Bakugo releases one of his grenades from his arm and Izuku swings his arm through the fire, causing the explosion to go up the building, breaking the windows and floors. 𝗎𝗪𝗢𝗢 is able to use her quirk and float herself past the debris and the boy with glasses, clinging onto the rocket. Izuku's arm is completely swollen and he falls to the floor once All Might announces the hero's victory. Bakugo stands there shaking, looking like he could kill someone in that moment after finding out he lost. That was a reckless move of Bakugo. Instead of focusing on his goal, he focused on trying to beat Midoriya, a girl with long black hair, says, crossing her arms. That's a good point, Yaoyorozu. All Might says, giving her a thumbs up. All Might, why didn't you stop them? That went way too far. A boy with black and yellow hair exclaims. All Might doesn't respond. My hands are covering my mouth at this point. I hope he's okay. Who, Bakugo or Midoriya? Kirishima asks. I dumbly look at him and he responds, oh, forget I asked that. Do you know where they're taking him? I ask Todoroki. Probably Recovery Girl, the nurse here at school, he responds. I nod while coming up with a plan. Time skip. After watching one more battle, I ask All Might if I can go see Izuku and he says yes. I try finding the nurse's office and it takes me a good 10 minutes until I finally get there. I slowly open the door and see Recovery Girl sitting at her desk and she spins around in her little stool towards me. Hi, I'm 𝗧𝗏𝗏. I came to see Izuku. I say, peeking through the door. Yes, he's right over there, she says, pointing to the hospital bed at the end of the room next to a large window. Thank you, I say, carefully walking into the sterile room. Izuku's asleep on the hospital bed wearing bandages around his swollen arms. He also has minor scratches on his face that were cleaned up with smaller bandages. He breathes slowly and calmly. I sit down at the chair next to the bed and put my hand gently on his. I missed you so much, Deku, I say to him quietly. I see his eyes flutter and he turns his head slowly towards me. Izuku's POV, I feel someone touch my arm while I was asleep and open my eyes to see who it is. My vision is a little blurry but focuses clearly on 𝗧𝗏𝗏's face staring into her 𝐸/C eyes. My eyes shoot open and I immediately sit up in the bed. 𝗧𝗏𝗏. Calm down. It's just me, she says, standing up and pressing her hands gently on the front of my shoulders, resting me back against my pillow. I'm sorry. I wanted to say hi to you before but I didn't know if you would remember me. And I was going to at the battle, but you and Todoroki were talking and did you miss me too? She asks, teasing me. I feel my cheeks get hot and I smile, looking away. A lot? She just smiles and before I know it I found her wrapping her arms around me. My heart stops for a second as I feel her arms around my neck. Sorry I can't hug you back, I would if I could, I respond with my head resting on her shoulder. She laughs and continues to hug me for a couple of more seconds, then let's go. 𝗧𝗏𝗏, can I just say your quirk is amazing, I say, nervously smiling at her. She blushes a little then responds, thanks, I was meaning to ask you also, since when did you have a quirk? Did it come to you once I left? Or were you just hiding it all along until you got to it? She looks really excited for my response, but I can't tell her about All Might, at least for now. Deku? I hear a girl's voice opening the door. Hi 𝗎𝗪𝗢𝗢, I respond weakly. Oh my gosh, that was terrible, are you alright? She asks, running up to my bed where 𝗧𝗏𝗏's also standing. Yeah, I'm okay, just feeling a bit tired. At least we won though, you know, she says, smiling nervously. 𝗧𝗏𝗏 looks back and forth at 𝗎𝗪𝗢𝗢 and I, oh hi. Sorry I never introduced myself, I'm Ochako 𝗎𝗪𝗢𝗢. 𝗎𝗪𝗢𝗢 says, extending her arm out to 𝗧/n, nice to meet you. I'm 𝗧/n, 𝗧/n says back, shaking her hand. Do you already know Deku? She asks her, look at me again. Yeah, I do, she responds, also looking at me. 𝗎𝗪𝗢𝗢 smiles then grabs my hand. Deku, you actually beat Bakugo though. I wouldn't really say that, I respond. You used his explosion to your advantage though, she says, still holding my hand. I can see 𝗧/n looks a bit out of place by her expression as she watches us. Hey, I'm going to go back to the monitor room, feel better, okay? 𝗧/n says, waving at us, walking away. Oh wait, I'll talk to you later, I say. 𝗎𝗪𝗢𝗢 lets go of my hand and waves back. Once she leaves, she turns her attention back to me again. How do you guys know each other already? Well, we actually grew up together, I finally say. No way. That's so cute, she squeals. My cheeks heat up again when she says that. Oh, are you blushing? She asks, smirking. Oh. I'm not, it's just hot in here, I say, making a stupid excuse. Sure, she says teasingly. Well, I hope you feel better. I'm going to go back to watch the rest of the matches. Okay, thanks for stopping by, I respond. She waves and runs out the door. 𝗎𝗪𝗢𝗎𝗄𝐻 POV, so how was Midoriya? Todoroki asks once I meet up with him at the monitor room. He's good, he seems really energetic even if his arms are broken, I say. That sounds like him. The relaxed atmosphere in the room is gone when Bakugo comes storming in. Bakugo, that was pretty brutal, Kirishima says with a worried face. Shut the F up, he responds, shoving his way past us. I see him glance back at me, but with a different kind of look. It's not a glare, but he still narrows his eyes at me. I furrow my eyebrows at him and he quickly looks away. Whoa, did you see Bakugo look at Y/N? Kirishima asks Todoroki. No, it. He looked at her, but he didn't look as angry for once. It still wasn't very pleasing, I respond. We never know what his deal is, Kirishima says, crossing his arms. He's so childish, Todoroki responds, shaking his head, causing me to smirk at his statement. Good job, everyone. I'd say today was successful. No. All Might bellows. I look at Bakugo and he looks down at the ground, gritting his teeth. Alright class, that's it for today. Go ahead and change out of your suits and pack up, Mr. Aizawa says. Todoroki, Kirishima and I walk out of the monitor room together back to the building after changing back into our school uniforms. I grab my backpack and stuff my materials into it when I hear someone shout, Midoriya? I look up and see him wearing a sling on one arm and his other arm at his side. I give him a light smile while putting my backpack on. He watches me with a smile as I walk towards him to talk, until the boy with yellow and black hair steps in front of me. Hey, you're Y/N right? He asks me. And you are? I ask, startled. Denki Kaminari. He says, pointing to himself. Cool, well, nice to meet you, I say, trying to continue around him to Izuku. I just wanted to say your quirk is amazing and I think you're super pretty, he states, stopping me. Really? I ask, smiling. He nods. I see Deku behind him blushing a little while scratching the back of his head awkwardly. I thought we could go out sometime. He continues. I don't want to be rude, so I give him my number and I continue my way towards Izuku again. Hey, I say, smiling at him. Hi, he responds shyly. So how you feeling? Better. That's good. We have an awkward PRD of silence until Izuku starts the conversation. So, what did Kaminari want? Oh, well, he asked me out, I say. Whoa, really? Izuku asks. Yeah. He looks down again, combing his fingers through his hair with his free arm. Are you going to? Going to what? I ask. Go out with him? I don't know, I guess, but it seems weird he would ask me like that all of a sudden. Oh, okay, Midoriya. What's with the long face? The boy with glasses says, waving his arm at Izuku. It's not. I'm fine, he responds, flustered. Deku, I say. He looks up at me. Let's hang out. Alright now? He asks excitedly. Yes. To make up for 8 years ago, I say, starting to walk out the door. The boy with glasses has his mouth open. Wait, 8 years ago? What's she talking about, Midoriya? I'll see ya Ida. Izuku says, running after me. Bakugo's POV, I start packing up when I see Deku run after Y/N. Did you see Midoriya and Y/N leave together? Mina says, clasping her hands. They'd be cute together. Azui includes putting a finger to her chin. Hey Bakugo, are you still mad? Kirishima asks, running up to me. Please F off. Hey, that's a start. You said please, Kirishima points out. I continue to glare at him and eventually turn around to walk out of the class, ignoring him. You're sagging, Kirishima says from behind. They are not sagging. Get off my back, I yell at him, storming out of the class. Y/N's POV, they are not sagging, get off my back, I hear Bakugo scream from down the hall. I can't help but laugh. Man, Kaken still sounds mad, Izuku nervously says. I wonder what they're talking about, I say, still laughing. Izuku begins to smile as I laugh. So, Deku, what's been happening while I was gone? I ask after taking in a deep breath. Well, I was really surprised I got into UA. But before that I was pretty lonely after you left. My smile starts to fade. I'm sorry, I really wish I could have stayed. It's not your fault. It was just after you left actually when I decided to keep another hero journal, he says, whipping out a paperback notebook. No way, can I see that? I ask, grabbing it. Why is it all burned? Oh, you can probably guess, he says, scratching the back of his head. I shake my head in frustration while flipping through the pages. I could tell he was nervous for my opinion. But honestly, I really like the notebook. This is really neat. I can tell you put a ton of effort into this. Heh. I started to record our classmates' quirks, not just pro heroes. Am I going to be featured in this? I ask, holding the journal to my chest. Oh, of course you are. You were my first entry actually, he says back with a warm smile. Look at the first page. I quickly turn to the first page that I'd miss, and see a drawing of me, similar to the one from my journal. I smile. Oh my gosh, I love it. He begins to blush as I hand him back his book. I look at his flustered, adorable face as he manages to shove it back in his yellow backpack with his free arm. His hair is crazy as usual but still somehow manages to look amazing. We finally make it to Izuku's house. It's the same old apartment as I remembered. He unlocks the front door and we both step in. Izuku asks, slipping his shoes off. Izuku, how was school? She calls back from the kitchen. Good. I did get a bit hurt though, he says, staring at his arm. I hear his mom cry out as she sprints out of the kitchen. Oh my gosh, Izuku. Your arm. She says, grabbing it. Mom, it's fine really, he says, putting his free hand on her shoulder. Tears start filling her eyes, but they begin to actually flow when she spots me behind Izuku. Am I dreaming? 𝐸/N is that you? She shouts. It's me, Inko. I say, walking up to her and giving her a big hug. Oh my goodness, 𝐸/N, you're so grown up and appealing, she says, patting my cheek. I smile. Inko, I missed you so much. No, 𝐸/N, you don't know how much we've missed you too. Izuku stands behind us, smiling as his mom and I speak to each other. After our chat, Inko focuses back on Izuku. Izuku, honey, why don't you change out of that costume? It's all torn. Izuku looks down past his sling and nods and leads me to his room. As he opens the door, I see him flinch. Whoa. You got even more All Might merch since the last time I saw your room, I exclaim, looking all around his room. Sorry, it's kind of embarrassing, he says, rubbing the back of his head. No, it's not, it's cool. He smiles with some relief and walks towards his wardrobe. Izuku's POV, I look through my drawer to find something else to wear as 𝐸/N continues to look around my room. I pull out a plain white t-shirt and a pair of dark gray. I'm ready to change, but I just don't really know how I'm supposed to get my shirt on without hurting my arm. I frantically use my free arm to pull at my trashed costume. 𝐸/N's POV, I look at his posters when I hear a lot of troubled breathing behind me. I turn around and see Izuku attempting to change his shirt, except he still can't even get his costume off. Do you need help? I ask, walking towards him. What? Really, it's okay, he says with panic in his voice. Here, let me, I say as I undo his sling and carefully set his arm down at his side. I carefully pull his sleeves off of his arms and over his head, two-piece suit in this fanfic. I feel my face heat up as I take a quick glance at his shirtless torso but quickly grab the t-shirt and slip it over his head so it rests around his neck now. Izuku's face turns red after I put on his shirt. He then frantically puts his arms through and pulls the shirt down all the way. I still hold the sling in my hand and take a few steps back to look at what his t-shirt said. Dress shirt? I say out loud, quoting the writing on his shirt. Izuku looks down. Hey, yet I laugh. I like it. Izuku nervously laughs back, still red in the face. Izuku's POV, Deku. I hear her voice cut my thoughts. Yeah. I ask, looking at her. You okay? What? Yeah, I'm great. I stare into her 𝐸/C eyes. They're so appealing, and her hair is too. So what did you want to do? She asks, interrupting my thoughts again. Oh well, we could go for a walk somewhere maybe. I suggest. That sounds like fun. We should go walk to the park. Yeah. Definitely. She claps with excitement and runs out of my room. Wait. I'll meet you in a second, I still need to change my. She laughs. You don't need help with those, do you? Oh. I can do it, I say quickly, closing the door to my room. 𝗎𝗪𝗢𝗎𝗪𝗧𝗏 POV Izuku comes out a few minutes later wearing his white t-shirt, and I smile at him, and he does back. We both put on our shoes and head out the door together. We make our way down the apartment structure and out onto the sidewalk. We walk in silence for a while, side by side, until Izuku starts the conversation. So, how are you liking UA so far? I look up and over at him. His eyes are so green, they remind me of the forest. And I can notice every freckle on his face from how close I was to him. I see him purse his lips after I notice I've been staring at him for too long. Oops. What's there to not like? It's exactly how I imagined. Except probably not the teacher. But he seems pretty cool, I say. Sensei Aizawa. Yeah, he seems interesting but also kinda scares me. He seems like a great teacher though, I trust him. Me too. I look down at my shoes and Izuku's red shoes and focus on our walking pattern. I feel the small breeze push my hair against my face, and in return I tuck my side pieces behind my ear. Y/N, I hear Izuku ask. I say, raising my head again. Do you still have our journal? I give him a soft smile and nod. Face with medical mask. Y/N's POV I take Izuku back to my house. My mom is at work, so it's just the two of us. Is it nice being back here? Izuku asks as I unlock my front door. Oh hell yeah, I love it, I hear Izuku laugh a little as we both step into my house. Wait here, I'll go get it, I tell him while running off to my room. I get to my desk and grab the flimsy notebook. I walk back to the living room where I had left Izuku. He looks over at me. I wave the journal at him in my right hand and he begins to smile. We both take a seat on my living room couch and I hand him the journal. Wow. I remember this so well. He says with an even bigger smile now. So many memories, I say as I lean against his shoulder to also look at the journal. Oh my gosh, our list of goals. And the picture I drew of you. I laugh with him. Your doodles all in F/C ink, he points out while dragging his finger along the designs. Do you still draw? Of course I do, it's what relaxes me. You gotta show me some of your drawings then. He smiles. Have your artistic skills skyrocketed? Trust me, you don't want to see them, I laugh. I'll make you show me theme if it's not now, then sometime. Try me, I say in a joking manner. Izuku gives me a funny smile and his gaze back to the journal. He flips through a few more of the pages reading the writing. Wow, we really did it, he says while closing the old notebook. I know, look at us, I say in return. I watch him feel the material on the front of the journal with his fingers. I then realize my head is resting on his shoulder and I quickly sit up. Izuku turns and looks at me a bit startled also. I straighten out my top and fix my attention back to him again. So you never really got to finish what you were telling me back when you were with Recovery Girl about your quirk? Izuku's eyes widen. Did I make him uncomfortable? That doesn't seem like a weird question, does it? Well, you see, I can't exactly tell you, he says, scratching the back of his head. I raise an eyebrow. How come? It's just private, that's all, he says, trying to sound as nice as possible about it. I pause. I understand, well, you don't have to tell me, it's okay. Thanks, Y/N, I shrug and try to shake away the awkwardness. So anyway, I take you and Bakugo still haven't been on good terms? I change the subject. You a yeet still complicated between us? I don't know what his deal is, I say, shaking my head in frustration. Has he said anything to you yet, he asks me. Nope, he's only looked at me once and it made me uncomfortable. I heard his mom was really worried about you. Mitsuki. Man, I missed her a lot too. Inko and Mitsuki were basically my second parents. She was always so nice to me. I see Izuku fumble with his hands in his lap. I stare at him do so in silence. Whatcha thinking about? I ask curiously. Izuku's eyes widen at me again and I giggle. I love how flustered he easily gets and nothing, he responds, seeming embarrassed. What? You can tell me. I say, nudging him. He pauses. Just how much I missed you. I for sure thought my heart stopped right when he said that. His cheeks turn pink and mine start to heat up. We missed you a lot too, I say, trying to stay nonchalant. Izuku's face relaxes when I say that. The mood is then ruined when his phone suddenly goes off. Shoot, hold on, he says. I look over at him, scramble to get it out of his pocket, and check the screen. His eyes widen and he quickly puts it back into his pocket without answering, then stands up. I watch him while still sitting on the couch. I'm sorry, 𝗎𝗪 I gotta go, he says, staring down at me. What, where? It's important and urgent, he says, fumbling with his hands again. Well, see you then. I'm really sorry I have to go, but I'll see you tomorrow, he says, running out of my front door. I continue sitting on the couch, feeling a lot more lonelier all of a sudden. My eyebrows furrow as I think to myself, I wonder who texted him. Why was it so urgent? Was someone hurt? He would have told me though. Izuku's POV, I feel really bad for leaving 𝗎𝗪 alone like that so suddenly, but All Might texted me and told me I needed to see him immediately. I'll apologize again tomorrow. Red heart, 𝗎𝗪's POV, I get to school a bit later than usual today. I walk to the classroom with earbuds in but take them out as I step into the class. Almost everyone is there, just talking in small groups scattered around the room. I spot Izuku, but he's talking to 𝗬𝗧𝗏 and didn't want to interrupt their conversation, so I decide to just head to my seat. I was happy to see that Todoroki is already at his desk. Hey Todoroki, I say, sliding into my seat. Oh hey, he says, sounding a bit startled. How's it going? I'm great, you? Pretty good, I guess. I give him a funny smile and he chuckles. I glance up and see Izuku staring at us, but he quickly looks away. I raise an eyebrow when suddenly the bell rings, and so I begin to take out my notebook and agenda for the day. Izuku's POV, I was talking to Ida and 𝗬𝗧𝗏 when I spot 𝗎𝗪 walk in from the corner of my eye. I slightly turn around and hope she would come over to talk to me. But she just continues to her desk and begins to talk to Todoroki. I decide to go over and talk to her then. I begin to make my way over to her desk when out of nowhere Kirishima and Kaminari fly in front of her first. Hey 𝗎𝗪, they say in unison. Hey guys. What's up? She responds. I'm tired, Kirishima says while yawning. Want me to electrocute you so you'll wake up? Kaminari says, getting ready to use his quirk. Cut it out. Get away from me. Kirishima responds with fear in his voice, but Kaminari starts to tease him by walking closer to him. Stop? Kirishima screeches, running away. I just stare at them run around the classroom like 8-year-olds. I turn my attention back to 𝗎𝗪 and continue walking towards her. She's writing in her agenda, and before I can reach her, of course the bell rings. Everyone, get to your seats. Class is beginning, Ida shouts. I sit down, puffing my cheeks, and take out my materials for the day. Mineta is walking to his seat, behind me, when I hear him say something to 𝗎𝗪. 𝗎𝗪 looks so hot in the uniform, it perfectly fits her bod. I feel my face heat up and quickly hide it by putting a fist up to my cheek. Can you shut the F up? I hear Bakugo say in front of me. He just saying, Mineta responds. You're such a little scumbag, 𝗎𝗪 says back to Mineta. 𝗎𝗪's POV, after the end of class, it's lunchtime. I pack my things into my bag when Kirishima runs up to me. You? He shouts. Oh hey, I say while slinging my backpack on. What's up? I was wondering if you wanted to have lunch with us. He asks with a big smile. Who's us? I ask curiously. Kirishima points behind him with his thumb to 2 boys. The one who was rigging me, and the other who dislikes me. I sigh while thinking. I smile sheepishly. I'd be happy to. Come on, let's go, I'm starving. I follow behind Kirishima out the door when I feel a tap on my shoulder. I turn and see the green-eyed boy smiling at me. Hey Deku, I smile. Che. Wanna get lunch? Yes. I nervously look at the 3 boys waiting for me outside the class and back at Izuku. Kirishima already asked me to have lunch with him, I respond. I'm sorry. Oh okay, it's fine, but you're having lunch with Kakin? He asks, bringing his voice down a little. I guess so, I just didn't want to say no to Kirishima. I understand, he says with a saddened tone. I try to cheer him up. Next lunch, alright. I promise. Alright, he states, trying to put on a smile. I wave to him and run out the door towards the boys. Took you long enough, but Bakugo growls, not looking at me. So 𝗎𝗪, have you decided when we could go out sometime? Kaminari asks. I keep a straight face. Considered your offer? Cool, he says with a thumbs up, So by considered you mean? 𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗟𝗪𝗧, Bakugo mutters. Come on Bakugo, stop trying to act all tough and cool just because a girl is joining us for lunch, Kirishima says while putting a hand on Bakugo's shoulder. Shut up. I'm not trying to impress anyone here, he shouts while smacking Kirishima's hand off of him. Kirishima and I both smirk at his reaction as we continue walking down the hallway. At lunch, Kirishima finds a nice table for 4 by the large window in the lunch commons. I sit across from Kaminari and next to Kirishima. They all had bought their lunches while I packed mine. So 𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗏, I'm not sure if this is a sensitive topic for you or not, but what was it like fighting that villain? Kirishima curiously asks. Oh man, that guy was such an idiot. He had this aura though that made me really scared of him, I say while unwrapping my sandwich, but now that I look back at it I wish I had done some things differently by you can't change the past. You know you're already a hero, right? Kaminari states with his mouth stuffed. I shyly smile by his compliment. Now I wouldn't say that. I see Bakugo staring in my direction but he's not directly looking at me. His face carries a glare but it's towards something else. I give him a funny look to see if he could see me but he doesn't notice. Have you decided what kind of costume you wanted? Kirishima's bringing my attention back. Not really, I still need to brainstorm but I'm really excited to eventually have it and wear it, I say, based off of what I've already seen everyone's is so unique. Kirishima and Kaminari smile at me while Bakugo continues to glare past me. What the hell are you staring at? I ask turning around. Kirishima turns around as well. The stupid nerd won't stop looking over here. It's me off, Bakugo growls. I turn and see Izuku not too far away sitting with 𝗎𝗪𝗏 and Ida. He quickly turns his head away as I look at him. So wait's not doing anything, I say. But he keeps looking over here and it's annoying. Dude, you need to chill with Midoriya, he's a nice guy, Kirishima says backing me up. I'll chill when I want to, Bakugo responds. I roll my eyes as I turn back around to my table. Izuku's POV I sigh as I reach the table where 𝗎𝗪𝗏 and Ida were sitting. Hey Deku. Midoriya, there you are. I wave at the two of them as I pull out one of the chairs from the table. What's with the long face? 𝗎𝗪𝗏 asks me. Nothing's wrong, I respond trying to cover up the fact that 𝗎𝗪𝗏 is sitting with my lifelong bully. They're not too far from where we are sitting. I look over trying to see 𝗎𝗪 and catch Bakugo's eye instead. I turn around blushing in embarrassment and a few seconds later continue to look over. Bakugo glares at me again, and this time 𝗎𝗪 and everyone else at the table turn to look at me. My eyes widen and finally focus back at my own table. Midoriya, why are you staring at Bakugo? Ida asks. I wasn't, I say. 𝗎𝗪𝗏 looks over and smiles. I think he was actually staring at 𝗎𝗪𝗏. I shout at her. Yes you were. Look how red your face is getting, she teases. I try to cover my cheeks with the fists of my hands as Ida and 𝗎𝗪𝗏 laugh at me. I wasn't. 𝗎𝗪𝗏's POV the day is over and so is the school week. It's a Friday and everyone is excited to make their plans. Kirishima invited me to hang out with him and his friends tonight but I promised my mom I'd spend some time with her. Once I get home I go to the kitchen to grab a snack when I hear my phone go off. I check my screen and see a text from Izuku. You had given him your number the last time you guys hung out? I open the message to read what he said. Hey, I was wondering if you were doing anything tomorrow. I smile and text him back. Nope. I'm free, did you want to do something? I wait for his reply while continuing to prepare my snack. A minute goes by and my phone goes off again. Yeah. What did you want to do? I try to think of some things I could do with him tomorrow and then think of something basic. How about a movie? You can come over to my place again. Sounds good with me. What time? I'll probably do some homework and studying beforehand during the day, so maybe at night, like around 7? How about 6? Asterisk, note the typo. That works with me. See you then. I smile after reading the last message and set my phone back down on the counter. 𝗎𝗪𝗏's POV. It's finally the weekend after finishing my first couple of days at UA. It's just as I'd imagined, but even better now that I get to spend my days with Izuku. Izuku is coming over at 7 to watch a movie, so I decide to head to the cafe beforehand for a snack. I just slip on a sweatshirt, some lounge shorts, and a pair of sneakers because I'm not trying to impress anyone. I step outside and walk in the evening light. I walk through an aisle of trees that sakura petals fell from. You can really tell it's spring in Mizudafu when you look down at the pink-petaled layer covering the sidewalk and the way the light shines through the trees. It's around 5 already once I make it to the cafe. I open the glass door that rings as I enter. The cafe smelled sweet from the pastries and of fresh roasted coffee. I stand in line staring at the menu trying to find a drink that sounds like it could meet my interests. Once it's my turn, I order my drink and a pastry, then look for a table. As I scan the cafe, what do you know, I spot a familiar sandy blonde angsty teen sitting next to a window at a table for 2. His back is turned to me, but I recognize his spiky hairdo. I decide to go and surprise him. I sneak up behind him and pop my head over his shoulder. "Hey friend," I say. "The F?" He shouts, scrambling in his chair, dropping his phone on the table. I bite my tongue trying to hide my smile as I sit in the chair across from him. "Did I ask you to sit here?" he says, glaring at me. "Nah, but I like this seat so." Bakugo grits his teeth, then continues to look back at his phone screen to avoid my presence. There's an empty white dish on the table near his hand with a few crumbs still lying on it, and half a cup of coffee still left. I smirk. The Bakugo. Coming to this little cafe and having a coffee. "Shut up. This place calms me down," he snaps back at me. "Yeah. It calms me down too." Bakugo looks at me with no reply, then back to his phone screen. "Y/N?" I hear someone ask. I turn around with a smile and wave my arm. "That's me." The young waiter comes over and places my order on my table. I watch as he leaves and reminisce back at the time I was in the cafe in New York where I met that other waiter. "That was fast," I say, turning around ready to eat my pastry. Bakugo still stares at his phone with no reply. "What's with you? Do you still hate me or something?" I ask. "No," he responds surprisingly. "Then why are you being antisocial?" "Because maybe I feel like it." I can't say anything to that, and so I just take a sip of my drink and a bite of my pastry. I silently stare out the glass window watching people pass by, similar to when I was in the cafe in New York, just this time I wasn't depressed. I smile to myself. Bakugo looks up at me again. "What are you smiling about?" My eyes widen and my smile goes away. I take a sip of my drink again. "Nothing," I say. Bakugo smirks at my response. "You were thinking about that demon nerd, weren't you?" My body tenses up. "I was not," I calmly say. "Sure," Bakugo says, unconvinced. "I wasn't," I say again, but this time more affirmative. Bakugo doesn't respond, leaving me in frustration. I check my phone and realize I should probably head back in time to shower before Izuku comes. I finish the last of my drink and my pastry, then begin to collect myself while standing up. Bakugo doesn't look up. I stare at him for a couple of seconds, then push in the chair. "Well, nice chat," I tell him while walking away. Bakugo doesn't say anything. But as I walk past him, I hear him call at me. "Wait." I stop in surprise and turn back around. He pauses, then looks into my eyes. "Do you like Deku?" My heart stops, not knowing how to answer that. "Of course I like him, everyone does except you," I say. "No, you idiot, I mean, do you have a crush on him?" I knew exactly what he meant the first time, but I didn't want to tell him anything. First off, you could have been more clear, and second, why would I tell you? Because it's obvious. I stand there for a couple of seconds with my mouth open. Instead of answering, I roll my eyes at him and finally exit the cafe door. As I walk back on the same route that I came, I look up at the sky to see an orange tint starting to take over. I groan in frustration some more. "Stupid Bakugo thinks he knows everything," I mutter to myself. I kick a pebble off to the side of the concrete with my sneaker and brush back my hair with my hand. I walk back home in 15 minutes and open my front door to see my mom in the living room reading. "Oh, you're back. How was work?" I ask her while slipping off my sneakers by the heels. "It was fine. How was your day?" she asks, looking up from her book. "Good, I just spent some time at the cafe just now," I say. "Izuku's coming over at 7 to hang out, if that's all right." "Of course that's okay," she responds. I smile at her. "Cool. Well, I'm gonna go take a shower before he comes." "Sounds good," she says while continuing back to her book. I walk upstairs to my room and grab a towel. I don't like to feel rushed before I hang out with others and like to take my time getting ready. I decide to try and calm my nerves by bringing my speaker with me into the bathroom for some music. I turn on my playlist and hop into the shower. While feeling the warm water slowly dampen my hair and fall onto my face, I begin to think back of what Bakugo had said. But I don't like him in that way. I shout to myself. I cover my mouth after realizing how loud I said that. I grab my shampoo bottle and squeeze some shampoo out onto my hand and lather it into my hair. I think I do have feelings for 𝗎𝗪𝗢𝗎𝗓. I hear my mom shout. I quickly go on alert and yell back, "What?" There's a quick pause before I hear her shout back, "Izuku is here." My heart stops. Fucking shit, fucking me, fucking god shit, I mutter as I frantically rinse the shampoo out of my hair and tell him I'll be out in a second. I yell. I take my conditioner and smother it into my hair. Meanwhile, I grab my soap bar and rub it on my arms. I thought he was coming at 7. I scream to myself. After rinsing my hair from the conditioner, I hop out of the shower and wrap myself in my towel, turning off my music. As I turn off my music on my phone, I look at the time. I open my messages with Izuku and see that I accidentally typed 6 instead of 7. I run into my room trying to find something clean. I find my oversized t-shirt and some other pair of lounge shorts. "This'll do," I say, getting dressed. As I put on my shorts, my hand brushes against my leg, and I didn't have time to shave. I'm a mess right now, but at least I'm clean. Whatever, we're just watching a movie, it's not like we're going out. I try to soak up as much of the water in my hair as possible so it's not dripping wet and quickly brush it out. I take a deep breath and open the door of my room to walk downstairs. As I walk down, I can hear Izuku's voice and my mother's chatting it up. Relieved that there isn't as much of an awkward atmosphere as I thought there'd be, I walk into the room where they're talking. Both of them see me arrive, looking all soggy and such. Meanwhile, Izuku was wearing a nice vest over a hoodie and a pair of nice, "Oh good, you're out of the shower." My mom laughs, making me cringe at myself. "Why yeah, I'm really sorry Deku, I just lost track of time," I say, embarrassed. "No worries 𝗎𝗪𝗢𝗎𝗓, sorry, I probably should have texted you that I was on my way," he says, rubbing the back of his neck. "Really, it's not your fault." "It's mine," I smile back. "Alright, stop apologizing and go hang out," my mom says, sounding fed up with our apologies. Izuku and I smirk at each other and I lead him to the TV room. "So what movie should we watch?" I ask him. I pull out a drawer near my TV that holds most of the movies on DVD. I feel him come up behind me and look over my shoulder at the movies with me. My face gets hot once again when I realize how close he is to me. I try to cover my cheeks as I scan through the list of movies. "Oh, how about that one?" Izuku points. I look toward the movie he's pointing at and smile. "It was movie. I love that movie," I shout with excitement while I turn around face to face with him. "And me too," he stutters with a nervous smile. It's as if I didn't have any control of my lips anymore. They're in a constant smile and I can't change it. Izuku grins some more as I pull out the movie and wave it at him. I make my way over to the DVD player and slip the disc in. Meanwhile, Izuku walks over to the couch and sits down. Once I set up everything, I dim the lights and sit myself right next to him. "Yeet, let's start this thing," I say while pressing buttons on my remote. There's a PRD of silence between us as the movie begins, until Izuku starts a conversation. "Did you do anything else today?" "I think for a little, not really, just some chores, and then I went to the cafe for a little." "That sounds nice," he responds. "Momo, guess who I saw at the cafe?" Izuku stares at me blankly, but then his eyes widen. "Was it Kaken?" I nod. "Oh, how was that?" "He didn't do anything, I was the one who actually went up and bothered him," I smile, "but he didn't want to talk to me and then I left." Izuku lightly laughs. "He's never changed, you got that right," I respond. As I think back at what happened today, I can hear Bakugo's voice ask me again. I make an oof sound while shaking my head. Izuku looks at me again. "You okay?" "Yes." I look at him and give him a funny look. "Oh, yes, sorry, I was just excited to see this movie again, that's all." Izuku smiles. "Me too." Time skipped. Izuku's POV. We're about 3/4 through the movie and I take glances at 𝗎𝗪𝗢𝗎𝗓 periodically. Slowly I start to see her head bob up and down, as if her head was a huge weight. I silently laugh at her. Eventually, I feel her head rest on my shoulder. I see her eyes shut and her mouth slightly open. I don't really know what to do in this kind of situation, so I just sit still, letting her use me as a pillow. The movie ends and the credits start to roll up on the screen. I look over at 𝗎𝗪𝗎𝗪𝗎 again and kinda give her a nudge by raising my shoulder. That doesn't wake her up, so I poke her cheek with my index finger. She slowly lifts her head up and rubs one of her eyes tiredly. "You fell asleep," I say to her. She pauses while taking confused glances around the room until she catches my eye and she looks fully awake all of a sudden. "Oh man, I didn't even realize I dozed off," she says, putting her hand to her forehead. "It's fine, at least you weren't snoring." 𝗎𝗪𝗎𝗪𝗎 pouts her lips at me in a playful way, causing me to smile more. She then checks the clock and sees it's 9:30. "It's only 9:30. She exclaims. It's as if she wasn't even asleep before. "What do you mean?" I ask her. "I'm all of a sudden energized," she says, turning her hands into fists. I raise my eyebrows at her while staring into her sparkling/sea eyes. She then leans in closer and lowers her voice a bit. "We should go somewhere." My heart jumps as I can feel her voice close to my ear. "But where?" She pauses for a moment, then gasps, "Let's go to the beach." "That sounds fun, let's do it," I respond. Her eyes fill with even more joy as she pulls me off the couch. "Alright, I'm gonna go get a sweatshirt and some shoes, then let's go," she says, running up the stairs to grab her things. I continue to smile at her goofiness as I tie the laces to my shoes. 𝗎𝗪𝗎𝗪𝗎's POV: I convinced Izuku to go to the beach with me because I love going out at night for mini adventures. We both leave my house and walk along the now dark blue sidewalk together. There aren't many streetlights on where we were walking, which is nice because you can see all the stars in the night sky. I stuff my hands into the front pocket of my hoodie as I feel the crisp night air hit my bare legs. "So what made you want to go to the beach at this time?" Izuku asks, breaking the silence. "Oh, I just really like going out at night. It feels like a whole new place," I smile. Izuku nods at my response as he tucks his hands in the side pockets of his vest. I don't live too far from the beach, so after a couple of minutes, I start to hear the small waves crashing onto the sand. The beach is pitch black except for the glare of the moon reflecting onto the ocean water. Izuku and I step onto the cushioned sand together and make our way onto the beach. We stop at a certain point and just stand, staring out at the somewhat visible sea. The ocean breeze causes my, now dry, hair to cover my face. In response, I tuck the pieces behind my ear. I look over at Izuku and watch his black hair move with the breeze as well. He looks like he's in deep thought as he stares out into the ocean. I don't want to interrupt his thoughts, so I stay quiet and enjoy the silence. Every once in a while, I get a chill sent down my spine from the sudden rush of cold air. I look to the left of me and see the silhouettes of the well-vegetated hills decorated with yellow lights of homes. The only noises that can be heard are the soft crashing of the waves and the palm tree leaves moving with the breeze. 𝗎𝗪𝗎𝗪𝗎, Izuku's voice says in a soft tone, adding to the other noises. He pauses. "You know how that one time I left so suddenly? The first day we hung out. I think back to that day. Oh, it was an emergency, you said. What about it?" "Well, I just want to tell you the truth of why I had to leave." I turn to face him fully now and he does the same. He looks deeply into my eyes as I look into his. Even though there's barely any light, I can still see the center of his eyes along with the freckles dotted upon his cheeks. I nod at him, signaling for him to continue. "You can't tell anyone else, okay?" He begins. "I haven't told anyone, not even my mom." "Oh wow, then I promise I won't tell anyone," I say while motioning that my lips are sealed. Izuku gives me a light smile before he starts. "You're probably wondering how I got into you, especially since I didn't have a quirk. Yeah, and all of a sudden, that's what I wanted to tell you. I was granted a quirk that was passed down onto me." My eyes widen in shock. "For real? That's amazing. But by who?" Izuku purses his lips. "By All Might." My mouth gapes open. "Holy no way." Izuku nods at me, and the reason I had to leave was because All Might was calling me and I had to meet him and it was urgent. I continue to stare at him in awe. "I still can't get over the fact you and All Might." "But you're not mad at me, right?" he nervously asks. "Why would I be mad? Of course you needed to go and see him, I say with a reassuring smile. I look down at my shoes and mutter, I always knew you were amazing. I look back up and can see Izuku's expression change even in the bad lighting. He rubs the back of his neck not knowing what else to say. I too nervously look around fiddling with the string of my hoodie. Izuku and I make eye contact again, but this time it felt different. I felt a lot more attached to him than ever in that moment. He begins to come closer to me as I stay in place. I didn't know what he was doing, but I continue to stare into his soft eyes. He then grabs my hand and feels my fingers. Your hands are really cold, he says looking down at them. WhatIf, I say while feeling his warm hands touch mine. I guess the cold breeze is just making my circulation poor or something like that, science right, haha. Do you want another layer? He asks, holding the side of his vest in an offer to me. No, I'm fine really, but thank you. Well, if you need it just ask me, he responds. I slowly nod while staring at him, look down at his shoes in the sand. I feel a sudden wave of emotions take over me the more I stare at him. Everything about Izuku is just utterly perfect. My body moves even closer to his, almost closing the gap between us. He looks at me as I stare up into his eyes once again. I put a hand up to his warm cheek lightly while brushing my thumb across his freckles. A deep tint covers his face again, and that's when I realized what I was doing. I quickly take a few steps back, placing both arms at each side of my body. Sorry, I say with embarrassment. Izuku doesn't respond, he stands silently staring at me, not knowing what to say. I take a deep breath, trying to recover the awkwardness. We should probably go back. I start walking away as Izuku still stands in the same place. As I walk in front of him, I hear him run up after me. Why/n, are you alright? Why do you want to go so suddenly? He asks with a worried tone. It's getting late, that's all, I say. I continue to walk in front of him, trying to avoid eye contact with him. Izuku walks me home before he walks back to his. I very awkwardly say goodbye to him and zoom up to my room. I throw myself onto my bed against my pillows. What is wrong with you? I say to myself, why are you so weird and awkward? I sit up after a couple of seconds. He probably thinks you're such a creep. Izuku's POV as I walked Y/N home, she had been acting really strange. It was as if she didn't want to see me anymore. Walking back to my house, I could only imagine her hand on my cheek. I place my hand over my cheek from where she placed hers. I shake my head. Even though I really like her more than that, I just wish I have the confidence to tell her how I feel. Y/N's POV, it's recovery Sunday, meaning I spend some time to myself, basically getting ready for the following week. I told my mom I'd do the groceries since she's been pretty exhausted with work lately. She left me some money on the kitchen counter for the shopping. I get changed and take the grocery list she made and head on over to the store. Another reason for loving where I live is that it's basically in the middle of everything. It's all a good walking distance away. I carry a couple of reusable bags in my left hand and hold my phone in my right. I scroll through the messages I had missed from Kirishima's group message. I, for some reason, am in it all of a sudden. After reading some of their nonsense and memes, I tuck my phone away in my purse and pay attention to my surroundings. My favorite part about the walks is noticing every small detail of how appealing Mizudafu is. I'm so lucky to be back here. I get to the market and grab a plastic basket to carry with me for my groceries. I start off with the veggie and fruit section first. I glance at the list, making sure to grab the necessities first before choosing some of my side snacks. Once I make it to the freezer section of the market, I see a boy with half red and half white hair standing in front of one of the glass doors. I smile, happy to see him here. Todoroki, I say to him while walking down the aisle. He turns around a bit startled but then smiles. I didn't expect to see you here. Grocery shopping too? I ask, now standing next to him. He nods. Yup, my sister usually comes with me but she didn't today. So how's it going? Pretty good, just doing errands. Do anything fun this weekend? Hung out with my mom, went to the cafe and saw Bakugo there to my surprise. Bakugo hangs out at the cafe? Todoroki asks with an O-shaped mouth. Yeah. Funny right, I say, and I hung out with Deku. I begin to cringe at the thought of what I did last night. Oh Midoriya. How was that? It was nice, we watched a movie and stuff. Todoroki pauses. And stuff? I wave my hands up at him. Nothing like that if that's what you were thinking. I gotcha, he says looking at the freezer door again. I spot one of the items on my list to be right in front of me in the freezer section. I open the door, feeling a brief moment of chilly air, and grab the frozen box. As I close the door, the glass begins to fog up on the inside. I tuck the box away into my basket when I hear Todoroki. So I've been wondering about this, he begins. I look at him intrigued for what he has to say. Are you and Midoriya a thing? If that's what you call it, well, what makes you think that? I ask with an uneasy feeling. Just that you guys have known each other for a long time and I feel like Midoriya likes you, but don't take my word, I just get that vibe. I just stand there dumbfounded. Todoroki stares at me for a couple of seconds, then goes to grab what he was looking at from the freezer. Should I start to say? Todoroki looks at me again, waiting for me to finish. I look into his two different colored eyes. Should I confess? He pouts his lips to the corner of his mouth before nodding, making my stomach flip. I believe you should if you really have feelings for him, he says. But I'm scared that he doesn't see me the same way. I mean, how would you feel in my position? I wouldn't say anything because I'm too shy. Todoroki, and you're telling me I should confess. He's going to think I'm insane. Don't think so negatively, /and anyways, I think you should make a move because Midoriya might be too scared. Guys are afraid of rejection too, you know. His statement leaves me quiet. Wow, I say wide-eyed. I didn't know you'd be giving me this much advice, Todoroki. The boy just shrugs. Have you had a girlfriend before? Todoroki blushes. I just know somehow. I smile at him. Well, I'll let you continue with your grocery shopping, thanks again. No problem, I guess I'll see you tomorrow then. Yup, see ya, I say as we both walk opposite directions. My heart is racing after having that conversation. Well, Todoroki is the first to know of my feelings for Izuku's made me realize just now how much I really do like him. /n's POV. I get home and put away the groceries before settling in my room. I go to my desk and try to make a plan of how I'll confess to Izuku. I pull out a piece of paper from my drawer and use my F/C pen to write down my ideas. Let's see, I say while tapping my pen to my mouth. I write down a few phrases that don't seem too awkward or cringy, but for some reason none of them are any good. I crumple up the piece of paper and throw it towards my trash can but miss. I can't do this, I say while laying face down on my desk. I close my eyes for a little, then realize I should probably do my homework. I groan some more and sit up. As I pull out my binder and notebook, my attention is brought back to my dilemma with Izuku. I tap my finger on the hard surface of the binder as I think. I'm getting so nervous. I say while shaking my hands, it's okay, everything will be alright, just remember what Todoroki told you. Think positive. Time skip, it's around 11 at night right now. I finished my homework and decide to watch some TV on my computer before going to bed. I turn off all the lights in my room except my fairy lights that hang around my bed. I wrap myself in my softest blanket and comfortably sit on my bed in front of my laptop. I place both earbuds into my ear with the wire falling across my blanket leading to my computer. I try to calm myself down with a movie since my nerves are still going crazy at the thought of tomorrow. An hour later, it's almost midnight and my eyes start to feel heavy. I'm about to fall into slumber any minute now, so I decide to shut down. I begin to close out of the movie when I all of a sudden hear something hit the glass of my door to the balcony. I panic and toss my earbuds out of my ears. Being oblivious as always, I just realized that I forgot to close my curtains over my balcony door. I can't see what's outside since it's pitch black, so I have no idea if someone is on my balcony or not. My heart is beating fast at this point. I look around my room for some kind of object I can use as a weapon. I finally spot a pair of scissors lying on my desk. I hop out of my warm position in bed and quickly grab the scissors, holding them up to my face. I slowly walk over to the door and peek through the glass to see nothing there. I exhale slowly and begin to open the door. I walk out, exposing myself to the cool night air. I search my balcony again to confirm that nothing is there, so I peer over the railing. As I look down, I see someone with wavy hair standing, looking up at me with their large eyes. It was Izuku. Deku. What the hell are you doing here this late? I ask, not being able to tell whether if I was happy or not to see him while looking like this. Oh, you're awake. Can I talk to you? He asks, staring up at me. My mom is asleep. I whisper yell while looking back at my room. I promise I'll be quiet. Is back. I hesitate worriedly. I sigh. Okay, but hurry, it's cold out here. Izuku listens and he begins to climb up to my balcony. My balcony isn't very hard to climb up, so he was able to do it efficiently. He hops over the railing standing before me. He stares at me, then looks down towards my hands. I look down also to see the pair of scissors in my hands I forgot about. I was scared, all right. I say to him, flustered. Sorry, I didn't mean to scare you like that. He blushes. Now that I think of it, what I did was pretty sketchy. I laugh while shaking my head at him and lead him into my warm room. I shut the door behind us quietly, and this time I remember to close my curtains. I turn on one of my lamps, but not all the lights in my room. I sit down on the edge of my bed with one leg tucked underneath me. Izuku continues to stand in front of me, looking a bit more flustered than usual. Is there something wrong? Are you okay? I ask him worriedly. No, he begins. Actually, I'm not completely sure now. What is it? Tell me, I say. He takes in a deep breath and then sighs. He finally sits down next to me on my bed with a worried expression. I came over here so late because all day I'd just been thinking about this, he says. About what? He pauses again, and it was killing me that he was taking forever to tell me. About you, he finally says. I was really confused by what he meant. Did I do something, and did you come over to tell me that you're mad at me? Y/N, that's not it at all. That's the complete opposite of why I came here. Relieved a bit, I puff my cheeks. So then what is it? I couldn't stop thinking about you today, and I finally just had to come over and tell you my feelings for you. He looks away from me after he says this. My mouth is open in response. Izuku, I say softly. He looks at me again with rosy cheeks. I feel the same exact way. I couldn't stop thinking about you all day today. Also, I was trying to figure out how I was gonna confess to. Izuku's eyes gleam with hope and happiness. You serious? I nod. I don't know what it was, but you've always never failed to make me happy. I began to notice as I spent more time with you how I love every detail about you. His face is completely red now. I don't even know where to start. Y/N. You're the most appealing and driven person I've ever met and probably will ever meet. I noticed that since day one, he says with a soft tone, and when you left, I didn't know what to feel. Surprised Pikachu, I don't know how grateful I am to be going to our dream school together, and especially to have you back here, he finishes. My chest tightens. Oh my God. I can't believe you just said all of that to me. I look at him with a smile. Izuku smiles back and hugs me. Only a bit taken aback, I hug him back immediately. The hug brings me back to the time he hugged me when I moved. Both hugs felt similar. They both showed how much we cared for each other. We separate and stare at each other smiling. I look away, tucking my hair behind my ear to look at the clock. It's getting late, I probably should go to bed, I say to him shyly. Why yeah, he says standing up. Sorry. His face carries a gloom all of a sudden. He starts toward the balcony door. Wait, I call him. He turns around to meet my eyes again. I quickly walk over to him and completely close the gap between us, this time by planting my lips onto his. This time Izuku was the one taken aback, but he kisses me in return immediately. My eyes close, only being able to feel the warmth on my lips from his. I held him with both of my hands, cupping around his jawline as I continue the kiss, while he held the sides of my waist. I slowly part from his lips and we both stare into each other's eyes. It was my first kiss and I'm pretty sure it was his too. I smile looking down. Just thought I'd give you that before you left. Izuku's mouth turns into a smile as well as he starts toward the door with a flustered expression and at a loss for words. Good night, I say. Good night Y/N. He responds. I follow him to the door and close it when he leaves. I shut my curtains again and stand in front of my door holding my cheeks. That really happened, right? I ask myself with a huge smile. I fly into bed rubbing my face against my soft blanket. This better not have been a dream. When I wake up, Izuku's POV, I climb down the balcony and feel as though I could run for miles. My heart is beating with excitement. My chest is really warm and my stomach is doing flips. I kick a pebble along the sidewalk like I was playing soccer with it. The only image in my mind is of how appealing 𝗎𝗪𝗏 is. God, she's so amazing, I say to myself with a big smile. Purple heart 𝗎𝗪𝗏's POV. I wake up with my alarm ringing throughout my head. I squint as I slowly open my eyes, trying to blindly turn off my alarm. I sit up in my bed to see that my room is darker than usual. As I continue to silently sit in my bed, I hear a faint dripping noise outside. I carefully step out of my bed and peek out of my curtains to see a downpour of rain coming from the gloomy sky. I look at my balcony to see water dripping off the railing into the puddles on the ground. Oh, spring rain, I say with excitement. As I continue staring outside my door, I notice my breath fogging up the glass. I stare at my reflection on the glass and a recollection of memories from last night start to come back to me. I could almost hear Izuku's voice in my head. I feel my heart tense up with eagerness to see him again. I can't believe that really happened, I say to myself, smiling. I then remember I need to get ready for school, so I head to my bathroom to freshen up. I wash my face and brush out my hair. Since it's a colder day, I put on a pair of tights under my uniform skirt. Lastly, I put on my gray blazer and head out of my room. I walk to my empty kitchen and pour myself a bowl of cereal for a quick breakfast. After finishing it within 2 minutes, I slip on my old sneakers and grab an umbrella sitting in the closet. Once I step out of my house, I notice the distinct smell of rain. My shoes make noises as I take steps along the wet street. I look up past my umbrella and see water drip from the telephone wires that hang across the neighborhood, and some birds sitting on them. After a few minutes of walking, I make it to the school entrance where there are already students also coming in. I try to spot a pair of red high-top sneakers since everyone's head is covered by umbrellas. My body is tense, anxious to see Izuku. I continue to look around when I feel a light tap on my shoulder. I slowly turn around with my umbrella and see the boy I was looking for smiling at me with flushed cheeks. His hair is a bit damp even though he's holding an umbrella. I smile back with a sigh. I was just looking for you. Why you were? Izuku asks with an uplifted tone. I nod. Your cheeks are all rosy, are you cold? He raises his hand to his cheek. Just a little, this always happens when it rains. It's cute, I respond. Thanks, huh? He nervously says as we walk in together. So about last night, I pause waiting for what he has to say. I just wanted to say thank you for hearing me out, and I really hope we can be together as more than friends. I do too, I say, nudging his arm. He laughs as I did so as the two of us walk into the main locker room. I shake out my umbrella, sending droplets of water to the ground. Izuku does the same with his before putting it in the umbrella holder. I change out of my old sneakers I wore in the rain into the white school sneakers I keep in my tiny locker. Once done, we head up the stairs to the classroom. We walk in and most of the class is already there. Kirishima spots us right away and wiggles his eyebrows at me. I smile, shaking my head at him while Bakugo raises his eyebrows at us. Izuku sees him and turns his head away. Wanna go over and talk to them, I start to say when I'm cut off by the school bell. Izuku looks at the clock, then back to me as I just shrug. We head to our seats and so does the rest of the class. I see Todoroki already in his seat next to my empty desk. We both smile at each other. I slide into my seat. Hey Todoroki. Hey, so you doing it today? He asks, motioning his head towards Izuku. No need to, I say, crossing my arms. What happened? I lean in towards him and he does too to hear me. He confessed to me first last night, you whisper. No way. That's awesome, 𝗎𝗪𝗏. I'm really happy for you, he smiles. Thanks Todoroki and all for being a really good friend. He nods. Same goes for you, I'm glad we became friends. We both hear someone at the front of the room clear their throat. I look up and see Mr. Aizawa glaring at us. When the bell rings, you are all to be quiet in your seats, he says, directed toward us. I sit normally back in my seat. Oops, sorry sensei. I see Bakugo smirking in his seat in front of Izuku while Izuku just raises his eyebrows at him. I puff my cheeks with frustration, not being able to tell if I was happy or not to see Bakugo finding me getting in trouble to be funny. Anyways, today we will be Mr. Aizawa is cut off by pro hero Midnight entering the class. Some of the boys' faces hold a blush. Hello students. Sorry to interrupt Aizawa, she says with her hands behind her head as she continues to the front of the room. Fine, I forgot you were coming in to announce the event today, he says stepping off to the side. What event? Kaminari asks out loud. Now as you all know, UA's annual spring formal is coming up. Midnight shines a smile at the class. All the girls gasp in excitement as I just look around at everyone's reaction. So girls, find your best dress and boys, go ask those appealing girls, she shouts with happiness. A big smile forms on my face, imagining what kind of dress I'll wear and where the dance will be. That's all for the announcement right now. It's in 2 weeks and the venue will be announced a week before, she says starting to walk out. Thanks Aizawa. Thank you Midnight, he says walking back to the front of the class. So do what you need to do to prepare for the dance or whatever. Everyone in the room begins to whisper to each other with excitement. Time skipped to lunch. Today we just did physical fitness inside the gym since it's raining out. The whole class is sore as they struggle to get their lunches. As I reach the table with Izuku, Ida, and 𝗎𝗪𝗢𝗢, I put down my lunch tray on the table and stretch out my legs. Everyone else sits down and stares at me as I stretch standing up. What are you doing? Izuku laughs. No matter how much I stretch, my legs are still tight, I complain. Sensei did work us a lot harder than usual today, Ida mentions. He wants to prepare our bodies for the dance coming up. 𝗎𝗪𝗢𝗢 jokingly says to purposely switch the topic. Oh, I'm so excited, I say. Izuku's POV, I hope someone asks me, 𝗎𝗪𝗢𝗢 throws out while staring directly at Ida. Don't worry, I bet someone will ask you. Ida says oblivious. 𝗎𝗪𝗢𝗢 puffs her cheeks at him. I look at 𝗎𝗪𝗢𝗢 silently laugh as she stirs her bowl of noodles. I smile just watching her and begin to brainstorm how I'll ask her to the dance. 𝗎𝗪𝗢𝗢's POV after school, while packing my things, I spot Kirishima walking towards me from the corner of my eye. I look at him and see Bakugo following behind. You, he says as he approaches me. Hey Kiri. So you excited for this dance? I respond while putting on my backpack. Hell yeah. I always see the classic high school dances in movies and I can't wait to finally be part of one. I laugh, me too. Bakugo stands awkwardly to the side with his hands in his pockets, leaning against a desk. So, do you guys have anyone in mind that you want to ask? I question. Not at the moment, me and Bakugo are probably gonna go stag, right? He says nudging Bakugo's arm. If I'm even going, he grumbles. Sure you're going. Anyways, there's only 7 girls in our class, so there'll be guys going without a date unless they ask someone from class B or something, he says, his attention back to me. Whether going stag or with a date, it'll still be a great experience. I agree, he smiles. Well, we're gonna get some food. I'll see you tomorrow 𝑦/N. I wave to Kirishima as him and Bakugo exit the room together. As they walk out, I see my crush standing by the door waiting for me. We both smile simultaneously, making eye contact. I skip on over to him. You ready? I say. Let's go, he follows. Many times skip Izuku and I take the subway downtown to hang out. I haven't been in a subway since I left New York and I notice how much nicer they are here. There's still a rush of people going places in their suits with briefcases, so all the seats are taken on the train. Izuku and I manage to fit on the crowded train but have to stand. I hold onto the cold metal pole in the center of the train. Izuku grasps onto it above my hand. Since it's packed, I'm standing shoulder to shoulder against Izuku. After around 15 minutes, we get to our stop. We hop off the train and walk out of the underground station. I make my way up the stairs from the station and the fresh, cool air fills my lungs as I exhale the muggy air from being underground. Izuku does the same while he stretches his arms outwards. We both head to the ice cream parlor that Izuku had recommended we go to. He buys me my ice cream even though I tried to refuse. I was gonna pay, I say, frowning. Well, you can next time if I let you, he says jokingly. I pout at him while my ice cream holding it by the cone. He winks at me in response. We sit ourselves at a small circular table on the patio outside the ice cream shop. The rain had cleared up by lunch, so it's a nice blue sky and a few clouds now, with the sun slowly drying up the excess water on the ground from the rain. I stare at Izuku as he looks off into the distance towards the horizon, the sun gleaming onto his skin. I hesitate but decide not to say anything. It's so funny how it was stormy this morning and it just cleared up, Izuku says. I look at him again and he's staring at me with those appealing emerald eyes of his. I know, strange weather, I respond while continuing to eat my ice cream. He slowly nods at me and I can tell there's something else he wanted to say but he doesn't. A breeze comes causing me to rub my arms. Even though the sun is out, the air is still a little chilly. Oof, it's cold, do you want to walk around? I need to get my BLD running, I say standing up and fixing my uniform skirt. Yes, sure, he says following me. We walk together down a cute street holding our ice cream. There are shops open filled with unique food or kawaii merchandise. Ah, this street is so cute, I say scanning my surroundings. Yeah, it's interesting, I remember my mom taking me down here just after my dad left for his business trips, he says with a nostalgic tone. Have you heard from him lately? I ask. I talk to him occasionally to catch up and stuff, but that's it, he says. I just wish I could see him in person again. I frown but then say reassuringly, it'll be okay, he's gonna come back and you'll have a huge story to tell. He looks at me with a blush and smiles. Yeah, time skipped Izuku's POV after about 3 hours of spending our time downtown and just talking and hanging out, it was time to head on home. The sun disappeared causing the city lights to turn on. We walk back to the station and wait for our train. I see 𝗧𝗪𝗢𝗢𝗢 beside me as we wait. Once the train comes, we hop on it. No one is on it now, only about 5 other people in our cart. We sit down in the cold, uncomfortable plastic seats and wait patiently for our stop. After 2 minutes of being on the train, 𝗧𝗪𝗢𝗢𝗢 rests her head on my shoulder and falls asleep. This takes me back to the night we watched a movie together, except now we have something more. I carefully put my arm around her, bringing her in closer. She snuggles against my chest peacefully. I never want this feeling to end. I just want to sit here and comfort 𝗧𝗪𝗢𝗢𝗢 as the train continues to travel forever. Eventually it's our stop, so I have to wake 𝗧𝗪𝗢𝗢𝗢 up. She rubs her eyes, squinting, and seems to be disoriented. I offer my hand to her as she still sits in the chair and I stand in front of her. She smiles and lazily grabs my hand. I hold on to her tight while leading her out of the station. We walk out together still holding hands and reach the quiet neighborhood streets. We walk by homes, some with yellow lights shining out of them or completely black. She holds my hand, swinging it occasionally. We're both silent, only hearing our shoes hit the ground. I walk her back to her house and we both go up to her front porch. I let go of her hand, leaving my hand bare to the cool air, but she grabs it again and pulls me in for a hug. I don't want this night to end, she says as she embraces me. Don't worry, we'll do it again, I say smiling. Promise? I promise, I say putting my hands on her shoulders as she looks up at me. She smiles and then comes towards me to plant her lips onto mine. I blush in response. She purses her lips while holding her hands behind her back. Good night, she says as she opens her front door before I can even say anything else. Good night, I stutter. She shuts her door and I find myself still standing on her porch, lost in my thoughts. I shake my head and start walking to my house. Then I was about to ask her about the spring dance, but I got a bit nervous at the end. I don't know why. Considering we're a thing now, I mutter to myself. I notice that I was grabbing my chin with my fingers, in thought, and I quickly let go. I smile as I think about how fun the dance would be, especially with 𝗧𝗪𝗢𝗢𝗢𝗢. I need to ask her soon because time's running out. 2 hearts, 1 week later. 𝗧𝗪𝗢𝗢𝗢𝗢's POV. It's been a week since the dance was announced and I was hoping Izuku would have at least mentioned something about it during that time span, but he never did. I'm starting to get a bit impatient because I really want him to ask me, but I don't want to bother him about it. I sigh as I flick off an eraser shaving from my desk. I start to daydream about the dance during math class, so while everyone's finishing the problem assigned, I sit staring into nothing. I blankly look at the wall until Todoroki taps my shoulder. I turn and look at him to see him holding his notebook with the math problem scribbled in pencil. Is this what you got? He asks. I stare at his answer that he boxed and shake my head. Then what did you get? He asks, setting down his notebook back on his desk. I didn't do it, I respond. Why? I sigh again while resting my head on my hand, because I was thinking about something else. Todoroki stares at me silently before he begins. It's about the dance, isn't it? I look at him and nod this time. He can tell I have a disappointed expression. Don't worry, there's still a week left for asking, besides they're announcing where it's gonna be today, he says. Yeah, I know, I'm just so eager, I say while playing with my pencil. 𝗎𝗪𝗢𝗢𝗏 what did you get for X? Pro Hero Ectoplasm asks. My heart races once I hear my name called from the front of the room. Everyone turns to look at me and I frantically look at Todoroki's notebook that he held sneakily for me to see. X equals 6. I say, flinching. That's correct, he says while writing the answer on the board. I exhale with relief and mouth thank you to Todoroki as he just smiles at me. Suddenly, the class door opens and everyone turns their attention to it. Hello students, I'm back, Midnight says entering into our classroom, and with the spring dance location. Excitement fills the room as everyone murmurs to each other. I smile to myself and see Izuku turn his head slightly over his shoulder to look at me. I pout my lips, resting my chin on my hand again as my eyes wander around the room. Your spring dance will be held downtown in Tokyo? The atmosphere in the class becomes a lot lighter all of a sudden. I listen to everyone's side conversations. I told you. OMG in the city. I can't wait, I need a black dress. Bro, it's gonna be so sick. It's going to be at a nightclub that'll be decorated for the dance. Midnight finishes before leaving the class. I hope to see you all dressed up on Saturday. Ectoplasm turns his attention back to us students again. Alright, math class has 5 minutes left, so start cleaning up and have a good rest of your day. With that said, everyone begins to pack their bags before the end of school bell rang. I think to myself while putting my pencils in my pencil pouch about how I've been acting lately. 𝗎𝗪𝗢𝗏, I turn around and see Uraraka running up to me. She smiles. Us girls were planning on going dress shopping today, wanna come with? My eyes widen with the thought of finding the perfect dress. Totally. Sounds fun, I gleam. Great. We're going now and taking the bus to the shopping district, she says, motioning for me to follow her. I follow her out and feel a hand grasp my wrist. I turn around and meet Izuku's green eyes. I was calling you but you didn't hear Moana walk together, he asks, letting my hand go. I smile. Sorry, I'm actually going dress shopping right now. Dress shopping. I nod, trying to give him a hint. There's a silent pause between us before he responds. Well, have fun, hope you find one. I guess I'll see you tomorrow then. He walks out the door with a smile while I still stand there in thought. Oh, you two were holding hands, Uraraka says behind my ear as she watched the whole thing. Ugh, I say, sounding like a hopeless romantic. Let's just all find the hottest dresses. That's the spirit. Time skip. All 7 of us girls get to the shopping district filled with different stores. There are a good amount of shops that sell different kinds of dresses for any occasion. Mina and Momo immediately find dresses to try on while the rest of us still looked. I really want to stand out. Mina shouts, running to the dressing room. I laugh while moving the hangers to the side, scanning each dress. Sue stands next to me doing the same. Ribbit, 𝗎𝗪𝗢𝗏, so has anyone asked you yet, she asks. I turn and look at her. No, not yet. Is there anyone you want to go with? I smile to myself while still moving the hangers. There is. I see her smile also. Wanna say? I brush my hair out of my face. Deku. Her eyes widen. Midoriya. You guys would be really cute. Thanks, Tsu. Yeah, the only problem is I don't know if he wants to go to the dance even. I'm sure he does. He's just the type to wait to ask you because he wants to make sure everything goes perfect. Oh, I never really thought about that. That makes me feel better, I say with a blush thinking about him. Does anyone else have dates yet? Sue puts a finger to her chin. Yeah, Kaminari asked your last weekend. I think Mineta tried to ask Momo but I don't know what happened. And Ojiro asked Hagakure. That's so cute. Sue nods. Oh, and I heard Ida was planning on asking Uraraka. Really? I'm so happy for her, I say, clasping my hands together. Hey, 𝗎𝗪𝗢𝗏. Can you zip this up for me? I turn around and see Mina calling me. I nod and run over to her and zip up the back of her dress. So Mina, do you want to go with anyone? I ask while buttoning the top of her dress. Not really. If someone asks me I'll go with them, but I'm also fine with going alone. That's a good way to think, I say. 𝗎𝗪𝗢𝗏, I found this. I hear Uraraka shout from behind me. I turn around once again and see her holding a appealing F/C short dress with amazing detail. I gasp. This is exactly what I needed. 𝗎𝗪𝗢𝗢𝗧𝗏 laughs by how excited I am. I take the dress and hold it up against my chest and look at myself in the mirror with it. This is it. I believe this is my dress, I say, waving it around still with a large grin on my face. I'm so happy you like it. 𝗎𝗪𝗢𝗢𝗧𝗏 smiles. You're gonna look bomb in it. I give her a hug while running into the dressing room to try on the perfect dress. Izuku's POV. I get home and kick off my red sneakers and walk to my living room. I search the other rooms in my house and don't see my mom anywhere. I assume she's out getting groceries. I take off my school blazer and red tie before sitting on the couch. I grab my notebook from my yellow backpack and open it. Let's see, what's a good way to ask Y/N? I say to myself while putting the end of my pen in my mouth. I start doodling on the empty lined page, hoping it would stimulate any ideas. Well, she really likes food, so I can maybe surprise her at her house again. I laugh to myself while thinking back to that night I came to her balcony. While doodling, I stare at what I drew and my eyes widen with an idea that came to my mind. I straighten myself from a slouch and toss the pen to the side. I got it. Thursday, Y/N's POV. It's almost the end of the week and it's around 5 in the evening right now. I just finished my homework earlier than usual, so I lay on top of my bed covers drawing in my sketchbook. A ray of light leaves a streak across my paper. I look out of my balcony door to see the sun still high in the sky. I rub my eraser against the paper. My phone starts vibrating. I look to my side where I put my phone down and see Izuku's name on the screen. I smile while pressing answer and putting my phone up to my ear. Yes. I respond. Izuku asks through the phone, sounding eager. Nope, I was just drawing. Why? Right now. I look back down at my drawing that I happen to be working on and cringe. Yeah, I'm not that good, Izuku. Bye. With that said, I set my phone down and run to my closet to find something else to wear rather than my pajamas. I happen to come across a white dress that looks perfect for the occasion. After changing, I toss my sunscreen and sunglasses in a bag and hold a rolled-up beach towel under my arm. As I walk out of my room, I see my sketchbook still sitting on my bed. I pause, standing at my doorway staring at it. I then decide to grab it last minute and place it in my bag. Once done getting prepared, I put on a pair of sandals and walk out of my house. I take the same route I had taken when I walked to the beach with Izuku. Memories from that night start to come back, causing me to smile to myself. After a few minutes of walking, I see the crystal blue ocean and small waves breaking onto the shore. There are people biking down the concrete path and a few others just walking. I see someone just standing in front of the railing, the same place we stood on that night, looking out into the ocean. I smile as I notice who it is. When I come closer, I run up behind him and hug him. I shout, Y/N. He says, sounding like I just gave him a mini heart attack. I'm glad you're here, he says with an exhale. I laugh while letting go of him. He grabs my hand instead, catching my attention, leading me onto the beach. I walk next to him and notice he's carrying a picnic basket. What you got there? I ask curiously. Just some food, he smiles. Yee, I like food. I kick off my sandals and stretch out my towel across the sand. Izuku does the same with his towel and we both sit crisscrossed on the cushioned ground. I try to peek at what's inside Izuku's bag, but he stops me from doing so. Why not? I whine, feeling myself get hungrier by the second. Because I need to ask you something first, he mysteriously says. Well then, what is it? I ask, eager to hear what his question is. He pauses before continuing. Y/N, would you like to be my date to the spring dance this Saturday? My eyes widen and my heart starts to race. Yes. I quickly say. His face lights up with pure happiness as I bring him in for another hug. After a couple of seconds we pull apart and I see a red tint across Izuku's freckled cheeks while he continues to hold an adorable smile. Sorry it took a while for me to ask, he timidly says while rubbing the back of his neck. I wanted to make sure everything was perfect. As he says that, I think back to what Tsuyu had told me about Izuku while dress shopping the other day. Don't be sorry. I'm just really happy you asked me. There's no one else I'd want to go with besides you, I say assuringly. He smiles down to himself at my remark before looking back up. So did you find a dress? He asks. Each I found one all right, I say. Show me, he says with excitement. I shake my head at him. You'll get to see it on Saturday. He puts a frown on. I guess I'll have to be patient then. I shrug at him while he begins to pull out the food from the bag. He takes out 2 neatly wrapped sandwiches and a bowl of fruit. I gasp. Are those your special pork cutlet sandwiches? Indeed, my mom was able to teach me the better way on making them. They've always been good. Remember when we made them for the first time together at your place when we were 8? Of course, he blushes. A wave of nostalgia comes over me as I think back to our childhood days, but my focus starts to shift when I begin to feel my shoulders burn from the sun shining down on us. As he passes me my sandwich, I grab my bag and pull out the bottle of sunscreen I had thrown in there. Izuku watches me take it out of my bag and his eyes widen. He reaches for my bag, taking it out of my hands, and pulls out my sketchbook. Hey, wait! I shout, trying to take it away from him. You brought it, he says, eager to see what's inside. Yeah, but now I'm having second guesses, I say with a nervous tone. 𝗧𝗪𝗢𝗢𝗡, you're amazing. Do you really think I'm gonna judge you? I pout my lips to the side while rubbing the back of my head. No, thank you. Izuku leans in and gives me a peck on the cheek, making my face to heat up. I jokingly shove him as he opens my sketchbook. Each time he flips the page, I already know what drawing would be next. I notice he stopped turning at one of my more favorite pieces of work. It was one of the couple paintings I've made. It's an acrylic landscape of the New York City skyline. You really painted this? He asks with astonishment. Yeah, the only thing I enjoyed in New York was how appealing the city was. You need to take me with you sometime so you can show me around. For sure. We exchange smiles as I begin to daydream of traveling the world with Izuku. A pretty far-fetched idea, but a girl can dream. I continue watching him as he flips through my sketchbook, looking intrigued by every one of my drawings. It makes me feel better about my art. Seeing him eye my drawings takes me back to when he loved to look at my doodles that I made in our old journal. 𝗧𝗪𝗢𝗡, I seriously don't know why you tried to hide these from me. Your art is unbelievable, he exclaims. I laugh, not knowing how to respond to his compliment. Thank you, that really means a lot. He hands me back my sketchbook and I put it back in my bag. Shall we eat? He asks, holding up his sandwich. Yes. I'm starving, I respond while taking off the saran wraps. As the evening continues to go on, we finish the food Izuku had brought and we lay on our towels, just staring off into the sea. The weather is still warm even though the sun is almost gone. The whole time I couldn't stop thinking about the upcoming dance. But mostly, I couldn't stop thinking about Izuku. Every time I'm with him, it always reminds me of how special and unique he is. I always smile to myself at times just thinking about how everything about him is utterly perfect and that I'm so lucky to have him by my side. Yellow heart face with tears of joy. Yellow heart 𝗧𝗪𝗢𝗡𝗧𝗏 POV. I had just went for a run and came home exhausted. I take a cold shower and sit on my bed after getting dressed. I check the notifications on my phone that I didn't see while I was on my run. Remember how I got added to Kirishima's group chat with Kaminari and Bakugo? Well, all my notifications were from them. Kirishima, this chat is dead. Where you guys at? Kaminari, I'm here. What are you saying? Kirishima, yeah, but Bakugo and 𝗧𝗪𝗢𝗡. Bakugo, what do you want? Kirishima, I just want to talk. Kaminari, sent an image. Kirishima, oh, it's the Bakugo pout. Bakugo removed Kaminari from conversation. Kirishima added Kaminari to conversation. Welcome back. Kaminari, thanks for removing me. Bakugo, 𝗧𝗪𝗢𝗡. Damn Bakugo, no one save that 𝗧𝗏 or I'll kill you. Kirishima, 𝗧𝗪𝗢𝗡𝗏's here. 𝗧𝗪𝗢𝗡𝗏. Sorry, I was on a run. I just saw your texts. Kirishima, it's cool. I was just about to ask actually if you all wanted to hang out tonight. Kaminari, all 4 of us still haven't hung out yet. Come down. Kirishima, Bakugo, you coming? Bakugo, sure. 𝗧𝗪𝗢𝗡𝗏, so what are we doing? Kirishima, I was thinking we could all just go get sushi. Kaminari, there's a new sushi place that opened by the beach. We should go there. 𝗧𝗪𝗢𝗡𝗏, yeah, that sounds good. Kirishima, alright, let's meet there at like 7:30. Kaminari, thumbs up, medium light skin tone, see you all then. Bakugo, 1 hour later. I put on a comfy sweatshirt and a pair of shorts and grab my flip-flops. Even though the weather is getting warmer, I'll be by the beach and it gets chilly at night. I say bye to my mom and then exit my house. I walk to the restaurant by the beach and spot Kirishima and Kaminari already standing outside. They wave and smile at me from the distance as I jog over. "Hey," I say as I meet up with them. "How's it going?" Kirishima asks while Kaminari continues to smile at me. "It's good, I'm starving." "Me too." Kirishima groans, making his sharp teeth visible. I giggle at his exaggerated response until I feel something hit my foot. I look down to see a pebble beside my toe. I turn towards the direction where it came from and see Bakugo trudging over with his hands in the pockets of his unbuttoned collared shirt. He's wearing a t-shirt under Don't Worry. I raise an eyebrow at him as we make eye contact, knowing he was the one who hit me. "Look who's here," Kaminari says while dodging Bakugo's attempt to shove him. "Hurry, we should get a table before it fills up," Kirishima says pointing to the restaurant behind him. "Good idea," I say nodding. We walk into the new restaurant and the waiter brings us to a table of 4 which has a perfect view of the beach. The windows are open so I can feel the fresh breeze every so often. We each grab a menu from the pile in the middle of the table and look at the sushi list. "Man, all this stuff sounds so good," Kaminari exclaims. "We should split a huge platter or something," Kirishima suggests. "We should. I probably won't be able to finish a meal anyways," I say. Bakugo just nods while pouting his lips at the menu. The waiter comes back with water and we all decide on a big chef's sample platter to share. After ordering, we sit silently at the table together. I listen to conversations at other tables, but there are too many going on at once, so it just sounds like a big ruckus. I sit across from Bakugo and he's fiddling around with the chopsticks. I think back to my talk with him at the cafe about I quickly shake my head in nervousness of my feelings for Izuku. I haven't thought about him until now, and I used the run I took earlier to clear my head from these anxious thoughts. Kirishima nudges my arm and I look at him a bit flustered. "You okay?" he asks. "Why ya?" "I was just I say, trailing off on my words. All 3 boys are staring at me now and it starts to make me feel uncomfortable. "Why are you all looking at me?" I speak up, but I'm directly staring at Bakugo. Sorry, Kaminari apologizes. "Your face is kinda red so I was worried." "Oh, I'm fine, don't worry," I say, just noticing how hot my face is. "Y/N, how are you and Midoriya?" "I've been meaning to ask," Kirishima brings up. "He's good," I say, trying to keep things minimalistic. Bakugo intently stares at me with those beady red eyes of his. I furrow my eyebrows at him in response. "You guys would be cute, you know," Kirishima states. It feels like my heart would fly out of my chest hearing those words. "You think so?" I respond, trying to act cool. Kirishima nods. "Do you like him more as a friend?" My eyes widen at his sudden question. Kirishima notices and takes it back. "Sorry, that was pretty personal. You don't need to tell us." I sigh and smile at him when suddenly Bakugo speaks up. "She has a fat crush on him." "Bakugo!" I shout at him across the table. "No, I don't." "Stop denying it. It's true, I can tell, we've already went over this," he says, crossing his arms. I puff my cheeks at him while Kirishima and Kaminari giggle off to the side. I also cross my arms. "You think you know everything, Bakugo, but you don't." "Oh, I know," he responds, leaning against the table towards me. Guys, it's getting kinda tense, let's just drop it. Sorry, I brought it up. Y/N, Kirishima says, finally stepping in. Bakugo and I continue to stare into each other's eyes as if we were both trying to see who'd blink first. I finally blink and shake my head at him while I see a small smirk appear on his face. After our very delicious dinner, we head on home. We all continue to walk in the same direction for a while since our homes are in neighborhoods pretty close to each other. Kirishima and Kaminari goof around in front, throwing pebbles at each other and sword fighting with twigs, while Bakugo and I walk behind watching them. The street lights illuminate the pavement, making it look like a spotlight on the 2 boys every time they passed under it. I look to my right at Bakugo, watching his blonde, spiky hair move with the breeze. I turn my attention back to Kirishima and Kaminari when suddenly Bakugo starts talking to me. "Why are you so defensive about Deku?" he asks. I pause while looking down at my feet before speaking. I'm not. I see Bakugo look at me from the corner of my eye. If you really like him that much, you should tell him how you feel. My eyes widen by his statement. Ever since we were kids, I could tell he's liked you from the very beginning, he continues. I finally look at him, my pulse getting faster. So I wouldn't worry about him rejecting you, he finishes. I'm at a loss for words at this point. I spot the street sign in which was my signal to 𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗟𝗡 routes to get to my house. I quickly change directions, moving away from Bakugo. This is my street, guys. I'll see you later, it was fun. I say, waving to all three of them. Kirishima and Kaminari wave back, of course. Have a nice night, 𝑦/N. I see Bakugo still staring at me with his hands in his pockets. I stop walking and sigh. Oh, and Bakugo, thank you, I say to him with a smile. Bakugo pauses before giving me the same smirk he did at dinner. He then takes off to catch up with the two other boys in front of him. I shake my head while still smiling as I continue walking down the street towards my house. Saturday, Izuku's POV, the day of the dance, has finally come. There's only an hour left before it starts, so I begin to get ready. I lay out my tux on my bed and smile proudly at it. I put it on and head to the bathroom to fix my hair. I try to tame it as much as possible, but it is what it is. I dab some cologne on and take one last look at myself in the mirror before heading out of the room. My mom is in the kitchen getting her camera ready. Oh, Izuku. You look so handsome. She smiles. Thanks, Mom, I sigh as she hugs me. When is 𝑦/N coming? She asks, pulling away from me. Right as she says that, the doorbell rings. I smile and raise my eyebrows at my mom while walking over to open my front door. I open it and 𝑦/N stands before me wearing an appealing color dress that complements her skin tone and the color of her eyes. Her makeup and hair are done. I realize I'm staring at her with an open mouth because she starts laughing at me. I quickly shake my head. You look great, she says. So do you. I say in a very flustered tone. I want to slap myself by how awkward I am. I motion for her to come in and she does so. My mom rushes over to embrace 𝑦/N in her arms. Appealing, 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 she repeats. Thank you, Inko. 𝑦/N blushes while tucking a piece of her hair behind her ear. Let me take a quick photo of you two and I'll let you guys get on your way, she says. 𝑦/N and I position ourselves in front of a wall with a painting hanging from it. She scoots close to me, allowing me to wrap my arm around her waist, and she leans her head a little on my shoulder. We both put on a big smile for the picture and relax after the flash goes off. I look at 𝑦/N, giving her a look, asking if she's ready. She nods in response, so we both say goodbye to my mom and leave my house. 𝑦/N's POV, Izuku looks so handsome I can't handle it. Every time I stare at him, he's always staring back, making me embarrassed, but it's okay. We've already had many of those kind of moments ever since we were little. We get a taxi to drive us downtown. As we sit on the black leather seats, he rests his hand on my bare leg. The ride is silent except for the faint music of the radio the driver has on. It wasn't an awkward, instead it was a mutual silence between us, the kind you have with someone who you feel really close and comfortable with. We reach the venue of the dance and Izuku hops out of the taxi first so he can give me a hand. Once he helps me out of the car, I straighten myself up and comb my fingers through my hair as the night air flows through it. Immediately I spot Bakugo standing outside the club. Well, look who it is, I say, walking towards him with a smile. Bakugo looks up at me from his phone with a raised eyebrow as he stuffs his phone in his pocket. Wow, 𝑦/N, you actually look good for once, Bakugo snickers. I punch his shoulder while he continues to smirk at me. I'm kidding, I'm kidding. 𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗟𝗓, I roll my eyes at him while Izuku stares at the two of us in shock. Bakugo, you coming to dance with us or what? I say as Izuku and I are about to enter. I'm waiting for Kirishima, he says, putting his hands in his pockets. So sweet, I tease. Quit it, he says, snapping at me. I giggle as we both wave at each other, signaling we will see each other around. I grab Izuku's soft hand, pulling him inside the nightclub. He's taken aback by my sudden action but happily follows me. We enter and there are colorful lights shining around the pitch-black room, and it seems like everyone's already here. I look at Izuku and we both have the same thought on going to the dance floor. We meet with Kaminari and 𝗎𝗪 and start dancing to the song that's currently playing. Kaminari says something to us, but the music is so loud I can't understand him, so instead I just nod. I start dancing like there's no tomorrow. I don't remember the last time I've been so happy and full of energy. Izuku dances next to me and he watches every move I make. I then see him start to laugh. Such classy dancing 𝗧𝗏𝗏𝗏. He shouts over the music for me to hear. Shut up, I say, playfully smacking his shoulder while continuing my ridiculous dance moves. Izuku smiles in response. I then grab his hand to have him dance with me and he follows along. I watch how his black hair moves freely as he dances. The warmth of his tattered hand grasping mine makes me feel as though he's the one who can protect me. As we dance, I feel two hands grasp my shoulder from behind, making me jump a little in shock. I turn around to see Todoroki smiling at my expression. Todoroki, I say, hugging him. You look great, he says, hugging me back. I pull away from him and notice his white tux with a blue tie that complements it. Todoroki looks behind me and sees Izuku and they both wave to each other. I then spot Ida come up behind Izuku. Midoriya, he shouts in his ear. Izuku jumps, grasping his chest. Oh my god. Why are you guys not dancing? He asks with a very disappointed look. We just were, Ida, I say, starting to dance again. Todoroki and Izuku follow, while 𝗎𝗪𝗢𝗏 shows up with 2 drinks in her hands, also dancing. Ida does the robot, making me laugh. You guys look amazing, 𝗎𝗪𝗢𝗏 squeals. Thank you, the 3 of us say in return. 𝗎𝗪𝗢𝗏 shimmies over to me. Your dress is stunning, she shouts. So is yours, I say back. She hands me a drink and I happily take it. We watch as the 3 boys dance together. 𝗎𝗪𝗢𝗏 and I can't help but laugh. She then leans up to my ear to say something. Izuku really likes you, you know, she excitedly says. I blush hearing her say that. Well, I really like him too, I respond as we both giggle. I watch Izuku from where I stand. He's laughing with Todoroki as they dance with Ida and a few students from Class 1B. Seeing him let loose with a big smile on his face makes my heart flutter. Every day I realize more and more how appealing Izuku Midoriya is. Yellow heart 𝗧𝗏𝗏𝗏's POV. It's 1 a.m. now and me and the rest of the Class 1A girls just got to Momo's house for a sleepover. It's my first time at her house and my jaw drops by how big it is. I'm not talking just any mansion. This girl owns acres of private land. Do you guys like tea? I can make tea and get other midnight snacks for you all, she excitedly says while clasping her hands. That'd be great, thanks Momo, I say. We all settle ourselves in her large bedroom that has other rooms attached to it. There are already pillows and blankets nicely placed and folded off to the side ready for us. Oh, and I have extra pairs of pajama sets for you all to change into, she says, running to her closet. Dang Momo, you really don't have to? 𝗎𝗪𝗢𝗏 says. No, I insist. I don't want you guys sleeping in your dresses. That'd be terrible of me as a host. She comes back with 7 sets and hands 1 to each of us and takes 1 for herself. We all thank her and change into them. I put my hair up and fold my dress carefully and place it with my heels. We all set up floor beds on her carpeted floor and immediately drop ourselves onto it. Momo comes back with the tea and snacks and we help ourselves. We were all exhausted but yet still had energy to stay up and have deep conversations. We were all going around in a circle to talk about anything that's bothering us, basically like a therapy group. Guys, what do I do about Kaminari? 𝗎𝗪𝗏 asks, laying flat on her back. What do you mean? Mina asks, leaning on her elbow. You looked like you were having so much fun at the dance with him. And so did he. I did have a lot of fun actually, 𝗎𝗪𝗏 says, sounding shocked herself. Kaminari is really trying to reach out to you, I feel like, 𝗧𝗏𝗏𝗏 adds. Only as a friend though, not that whole relationship thing, 𝗎𝗪𝗏 is quick to say. Speaking of relationships, how was your night with Izuku? 𝗎𝗪𝗏𝗏 asks me. The rest of the girls become intrigued as well. Okay, it was one of the best nights of my life. Not just being with Izuku, but seeing everyone having fun and getting along really made me happy, I smile. They all ah and nod in agreement. Yeah, did you guys see Bakugo? He looked like he was actually having fun, Mina mentions. I noticed he was with Kirishima the whole time. He's the only person that Bakugo can really let loose with, Tsuyu says. Yeah, you're right, I say, The only time I've seen Bakugo not so tense is when he's with Kirishima. Only Kirishima can tame the Bakugo, 𝗎𝗪𝗧𝗏. It's been a week since the dance and another Monday rolls around again. My birthday is coming up, but honestly I forgot about it. So much has been happening with school and other stuff that I didn't realize it was so close. The good side is that it'll be over the break that's coming up. I walk down to the kitchen to grab breakfast and see my mom already there. "Hey Mom," I greet while looking in the pantry. "Good morning," she says, bringing her tea to the table. I grab the box of cereal and a bowl from the cupboard. I place the bowl on the table and start pouring the cereal when I spot my mom mysteriously resting her hand over an envelope that's laying flat on the table. I scan the envelope before looking at her. "What's that?" I ask, pointing at it. My mom smiles. "I knew you'd notice." She slides it over, letting me see for myself. I carefully open it and peek inside to pull out what was in it. My eyes widen when I read the 2 rectangle pieces of paper. They were 2 plane tickets to New York City. "What's this?" I ask my mom in shock. "I was thinking," she says, "why don't you take Izuku to visit New York with you for the break coming up?" "Wait, for real?" She nods her head and I immediately give her a big hug. "As an early birthday present," my mom says, smiling. "Thank you so much," I say, pulling away. "Izuku's been wanting to visit New York. He'll be just as excited. I remember you saying so. I figured why not visit your father to catch up with him and bring Izuku along." I look at the ticket, still smiling and my heartbeat racing. "This is amazing, thank you." I run back up to my bedroom, never so excited. I enter my room and grab my phone that's laying on the covers of my unmade bed. I unlock it and go to my contacts to find Izuku. I put my phone up to my ear, getting butterflies as the ringing goes off, waiting for an answer. I hear him pick up at the other end, sounding like he just woke up. "Hey 𝑦/N, what's up?" Izuku asks with a raspy voice. "Hey Izuku, you don't have any plans for break, do you?" I ask. "Not that I know of." "How come?" he asks, sounding suspicious. "Well, now you do, because you're coming with me to New York." I smile. "What? No way. 𝑦/N, that's crazy." He shouts over the line in excitement. I laugh by his reaction. "I can't believe it myself. It's my birthday gift from my mom." "Wow, weren't we talking about this too?" He laughs. "Yeah, and now it's actually happening." I sigh. He pauses and I assumed he was thinking about something. "I can't let your mom buy my plane ticket. I promise I'll pay her back," he says. "No, it's fine, Izuku. As part of my present I'm bringing you with me. But a ticket from here to New York is crazy expensive." "Really, it's okay," I laugh. "You can make it up by buying me boba." "Boba, you say? Are you busy right now?" he asks. Nope," I hear him smirk over the phone. "Great, I'll take you out now." "All right, give me 10 minutes, I smile. "See ya in 10 then," he says before we both hang up. 𝑦/N's POV after the weekend was over, it's back to school. Today Aizawa had something planned with more training, since it's what's really important for us right now. After announcing our agenda for that morning, we are all sent off to go the locker rooms and change into our UA training uniforms. Me and the rest of the girls get changed and head out of the changing room. The boys next door also finish around the same time, so we begin walking together to the field. To our surprise, we saw Class 1B also standing on the field with Vlad, King, and Aizawa. As we approach the group, one of the boys bursts into laughter. "If it isn't Class 1A, a blonde-haired boy says obnoxiously, "I'd like to see you try and prove how much better you are than us." "Dude, come on," Kaminari sighs. "Who is that?" I whisper. "His name's Minoma. Just try not to interact with him whatever you do," Todoroki warns. I nod. "That's good to know. Everyone here." "Good," Aizawa begins. "Today Vlad and I agreed to bring both classes together to train against each other. We will be making random draws and doing one-on-one combats with the students." Vlad holds up 2 boxes, one with the letter A and the other with the letter B. Everyone will take a number from each of the 2 boxes, and whoever your number matches will be your opponent. Does that make sense? Everyone nods, and with that said, we all go up to grab our number. I grab my slip of paper and open it to see number 12. I look around to find people holding up their number to find their match. Izuku jogs over to me with his number. "Have you found your opponent yet?" he asks. I shake my head. "Not yet." "No, he says before being cut off. Hey. Number 4, Izuku right? A boy with a blue headband and black hair asks smiling. Izuku nods, that's me and you're always right? Yeah. Izuku turns back to me, I'll talk to you later, good luck? Thanks you too, I say waving to him. I continue looking for my opponent holding my paper in the air for others to look at. So it looks like the hotshot is my opponent. I hear the same obnoxious voice from before. Oh please no, I groan while turning around to see Monoma standing there with a number 12 in his hand. Looks like I'll be beating you today, he says. I cross my arms, you speak pretty highly of yourself don't you? He laughs, I only say what's true. I roll my eyes at him while standing a good amount of space away from him as we wait for everyone else to find their opponents. Who has number 8? Byakugan yells impatiently. That's me, a girl with orange hair says walking up to him. He asks in disbelief. It's Kendo, she calmly says, what's wrong? Afraid to go up against a girl. Byakugan sputters, I'm taking you down. Kendo smiles while standing next to him making Byakugan scoot away so there's a bigger gap between them. After another 2 minutes, everyone is standing next to their assigned opponents. It was interesting to see all the different matchups. I wish I could watch some of them. Okay, now that everyone has their opponent, you will be using your quirks against each other like in combat and the objective is to get your opponent on the ground for 5 seconds minimum. Like wrestling. Kaminari adds. I guess you can say that, 𝐈𝐧𝐭𝐫𝐴𝐵, it'll be best out of 3, from there we will be deciding who you will be going up against next as we inspect your matches. Questions? We all stay silent signaling we understood what to do. 𝐈𝐧𝐭𝐫𝐴𝐵 sends us off to different spots on the field where we get our own pavement of cement and set of boundary lines. Monoma and I walk to space number 12 and I notice how small the area is. I begin to strategize what I can do with him. We both enter the boundary and stand on opposite sides. Monoma gives me a smirk while I stare at him with a straight face. Midnight comes over to judge our fight. Begin, she yells starting a timer. I wait for Monoma to make a move but he just stands there with his hands in his pockets. If he doesn't make the first move then I guess I will. I run towards him to have him dodge me by shoving me with his hands. I put my hands on my hips and laugh while shaking my head. I think I'm at advantage here now, Monoma says smiling. Really, why is that? I ask. He lifts his hand up and starts to crumble the cement beneath me catching my off guard. What the? I lose my balance and fall on my back not being able to stand up as the ground keeps shattering. Midnight signals the end to the first round after 5 seconds since I couldn't get back up without falling back down. Cementos comes around and replaces the concrete so we can continue. I like how you assumed I didn't know anything about you, Monoma says putting his hands on his hips. You're pretty stupid to think that I didn't see the news. My eyes widen. Of course. How could I forget about the incident that got me noticed and even admitted into this school in the first place? You're right, I guess I am, I laugh. Monoma's smile turns to a frown seeing me take his comment lightly. Midnight sets the timer for our second round. Monoma has my quirk for 5 minutes so he starts to play around with it. Luckily he's pretty bad with it. There aren't any objects in my surroundings I could use to my advantage to knock him out and that's what I'm best at, controlling objects. So I decided to try something I have he may not. My own physical strength. From all the martial arts my dad taught me, I found I could use now. I charge towards him and as he tries to fight back with a punch, I drop low and kick his legs from beneath him to send him to the ground. He grunts as he tries to get right back up but I pin him to the ground by grabbing both of his wrists behind his back and with a knee on both of his legs so he won't go anywhere. Monoma is down for 5 seconds. Midnight yells, it's tied 1-1 now. I get up and brush off my uniform watching Monoma struggle to get up as he massages his wrists. You're good at strategizing, I'll give you that, I say, but you're pretty weak at fighting. Monoma grits his teeth in anger. How can a girl like you be stronger than me? You sound like someone who once made a remark like that to me, I say as my eyes wander to Byakugan then back to Monoma. Third round, start? Midnight yells. This time Monoma charges at me in anger. Which was my intention. He let his emotions take over so now he's acting recklessly. I dodge his punches and throw one to his face. Monoma stumbles backwards holding his nose in pain but still continues to try and beat me up. That's when I decide to put my quirk to use on him even though it wasn't my first choice. I raise my palm and use enough force for him to fall to the ground, letting me go on top of him and pin both of his wrists on the ground on each side of his head. Nice try, I smile while looking down at his tattered face. 5 seconds up. 𝗎𝗪𝗏 wins 2-1, midnight announces. I get up and walk away from the boundaries to get water, leaving Monoma on the ground. Monoma, never let your emotions get in the way of what the main goal is here. Vlad scolds. Monoma sits up resting his arm on top of his knee sitting through Vlad's yelling. After the first rounds are finished, we head back to the locker rooms to change back into our school uniforms for our next classes. Hero training was done for the day. What class do we have after this? Mina asks, putting on her socks. Math, I say while buttoning up my white shirt. Oh no, 𝗎𝗪𝗢𝗢𝗥 groans, I can't sit through 2 hours of math. What? I love math. Momo gasps. That's because you're good at it, Mina says. We all finish changing and grab our backpacks and leave the locker room. As I rummage through my items, I notice I left my phone inside. I forgot my phone, I say, moving away from the group back to the locker room. We'll meet you inside 𝗎/, Mina calls. I give her a thumbs up, then jog down the hallway. I swing open the door and spot my phone on the bench and grab it. I leave the locker room and tuck my phone away in my pocket. As I look up, I spot a boy walking down the empty hallway towards my direction. His purple hair that flows like Izuku's stands out to me. I look at him and he looks at me. We make close eye contact as he slowly passes by me. The way he stares into my eyes with his matching purple eyes sends chills down my body. It was a cold stare. It was as if he knew me from somewhere. My pace slows down and I find myself turning around to watch the mysterious boy keep walking down the hall. 𝗎/n's POV Todoroki and I go to the cafe after school to study for exams that are coming up before break starts. Like the way I found my cafe back in New York, this cafe that I occasionally find bakuguet is my new spot. We sit silently across the table from each other as he writes down in his notebook. I look up from reading my notes and peek over at what he's writing. Geez, your handwriting is so neat, I say, impressed. Compared to Izuku's, at least, because his is like chicken scratch. You think, he asks. Thank you, I nod. What are you writing anyways? I ask. He flips through his notebook. I'm copying down lecture notes since it helps me retain the information better, at least that's how it works for me. Oh, smart idea, I say, pointing at him, causing him to smirk. I rummage through my pencil pouch to find a colored pen to annotate my notes with besides my black pen. I then find my purple one. I grab it and begin to underline my notes. As I watch the purple ink sink into the paper as I draw a line, I get a flashback from a couple days ago of the purple-haired boy I saw. I look up at Todoroki to see him back writing and in the zone. I hesitate to ask him, not knowing if I should or not. I pretend to be making notes but really am just stalling and thinking to myself. I let out a sigh and place my pen on the table. Hey Todoroki, sorry to bug you again, but I have a question, I finally say. No, it's okay, what is it, he asks, setting down his pen as well. Do you by any chance know a guy with purple hair? Todoroki raises an eyebrow and looks up to the ceiling, trying to think if he did. After a couple seconds of thinking, he looks back at me. I don't know them personally, but I could think of one guy that has purple hair who goes to UA that you may be talking about, he finally says. Does he have a lot of hair? I nod, and purple eyes. I think that's Shinso you're talking about, he says, coming to conclusions. Shinso, I say to myself. The name didn't ring a bell. Is he in class 1B? Todoroki shakes his head. He's in the general department, class 1C? Huh, I say, sitting back in my chair, crossing my arms. Why do you ask anyways? I look into Todoroki's different colored eyes and move my mouth to the side. Well, it's kinda weird. I straighten myself. After our training I went to change and left my phone in the locker room by accident, so I went back to get it, and after I walked out he was coming down the hallway towards me, and when we passed he looked into my eyes, like deep into my eyes. It gave me chills. Todoroki hums to himself. I'd stay away from him if I were you. What? I ask curiously. He doesn't sound like someone you should be around. I heard his quirk is brainwashing. Wakinda like Eraserhead? Todoroki pauses then silently laughs as he thinks about Aizawa's hero name. Yeah, I guess so. I giggle, but brainwashing you say, that's pretty villainous, don't you think? Well, he is in a hero school, but I can see where you're coming from. We silently sit across the table from each other again, thinking to ourselves for a bit. I then shake my head. Anyway, sorry, I needed to tell at least someone about that encounter, I say. Yeah, don't worry about it, Todoroki nods. Well then, shall we get back to studying, I say, grabbing my purple pen. Oh yeah, he says, picking up his blue pen off his notebook. Almost forgot why we were here. And with that said, we stayed focused for the rest of the time at the cafe. Although I couldn't focus any better than before. What Todoroki had said about staying away from Shinso continued to linger in my head. 𝑦/n's POV, it's finals week, aka dead week. Our first final is today, which is for math, and I've never been more nervous. I walk into class and take out my headphones to hear the classroom filled with chatter as everyone struggles to cram any last-minute information in. 𝑦/n, Kaminari shouts in my ear, making me jump. Please. It's too early for that, I sigh. What is it? How do you take the derivative of a log? My mind blanks as I look into his desperate eyes for an answer. I open my mouth about to say something when I actually forgot myself. Hold on, Momo. Yaoyorozu turns her head towards us and walks over as I signal her to. How do you take the derivative of a log? I ask as Kaminari nods his head furiously. Well, log will become an inverse function, which would just be 1 over the natural log, ln. So it'd be 1/ln x, or of whatever log function you're deriving. We both stare at her with no response. Kaminari then throws his hands in the air. Well, I'm screwed. I feel a hand on my shoulder and turn around to see Izuku smiling. Hey, you ready? I ask, turning my body to him. I think so. I studied a lot, so it better pay off. Me too. Can we get food after we finish? Yes. Let's get soba. I nod my head and look around and see Kirishima and Bakugo studying together in the back. I smile and we walk over towards them. Oh. What are you doing? Bakugo shouts, watching Kirishima scribble a math problem on his notebook paper. You said find the equation of the growth rate and take the derivative, did you not? That's not the growth rate equation, stupid. Then what is it? I just told you. Bakugo cuts himself off as he just walks away from the situation. Kaminari sighs. I didn't even know growth and percentage rates would be on this final. Well, it is cumulative, so, I say, leaning on the desk. Kirishima, its initial value, a times e to the power of rate times time, Izuku says while writing out the formula on his notebook paper. You're so smart, he cries out. The bell rings and we all groan. Let's give it our best, I tell the two boys. They nod and we give rounds of fist bumps before walking back to our seats. I sit down and stretch my hands out in front of me. As I sit in my seat in silence, I feel a sharp glare come my way. I quickly turn my head towards the classroom window to see a shadow pass by, too fast for me to see what it was. I bite the inside of my cheek when I jump in my seat as someone taps my shoulder. Whoa, scared much for the final? Todoroki jokes as I turn to look at him. I place my hand over my heart, feeling it race. Ha ha, funny. No, but I thought I felt someone staring at me. He raises an eyebrow. Oh, I swear I saw someone at the window walk away and I could feel this tension. How many hours of sleep did you get last night? 𝑦/n? I'm completely sane right now, Shoto. Todoroki smirks to himself. I was just teasing, but really, are you okay? I slowly nod. All right. Quiet down, I'm passing out exams, ectoplasm states as he holds a stack of paper ready to count them off for each row. I shake the thought of being watched away, trying to focus on this exam, but it was hard. Was it just in my head? 2 hours later, there's a 0 possibility that I passed that, Kaminari tells Kirishima as we all file out of the classroom for lunch. Hey, you never know, Kirishima pats his back. Bakugo, how do you feel? Easy, he scoffs while walking ahead of everyone else. Izuku and I walk behind when Aizawa comes out of nowhere. All of us bow, not expecting to see him. Sensei? What are you doing here this early? I need to talk to 𝑦/n. Do you have a moment? He asks, looking at me. I point to myself and nod wordlessly. It'll only take a few minutes, I won't take up too much of your lunch hour. Aizawa turns around as a sign for me to follow him. Okay, I'll catch you later. I wave to Izuku. Yeah, I'll buy you lunch. He gives me a thumbs up along with a shy smile. Thanks, I say before running after Aizawa. He leads me into the teacher's office where I see all the pro heroes. So what did you want to talk to me about? I ask. I know it's already so early in the year for this, but we've had a lot of hero agencies already contact us to tell you they want you for their internships. I was going to wait a little longer to tell you, but since so many are requesting to reach out to you, I've decided to tell you now. Ah, for real? He nods, handing me a list with their contact information. They must have seen you on the news and found out you go here. Go ahead and see which ones you're interested in and give them a call back. But what about classes and everything? I take the paper in my hand. Don't worry, if you decide on visiting an agency tomorrow, we can work around it. Thank you. I know these are great opportunities for you to take, so I wanted to let you know as soon as possible. I nod my head furiously. Thank you, really. Okay, just let me know which agency you decide to visit and we can plan accordingly. Now go and enjoy your lunch. I bow one last time to him before exiting the office, holding the paper in my hand. I scan each and every one of them when the pro hero Rumi Usajiyama catches my eye. I walk into the cafeteria, not even realizing I walked there mindlessly. Y/N, someone shouts my name, snapping me out of it. I raise my head and see Izuku waving his hand over at me. I smile and run over to the table he's at. Thanks for buying me food, I owe you, I say, sitting in the empty seat with my tray of soba in front of me. It's fine, don't worry about it. I begin eating when Izuku slides his hand over to pick up the paper I had set on the table beside my tray. He reads the first couple of lines before his eyes widen. Wait, are these internships? I nod while still eating. Wow, so many agencies want you, Y/N, that's amazing. I just shrug like it's nothing. I wouldn't have expected anything less. He smiles while giving me back the paper. Do you have an idea of which one you want to sign with yet? Right now I have my heart set on Rumi. I point to her name on the list. She's ranked number 5 in the hero industry, he says, mouth wide. I nervously laugh. Yeah, I'm anxious to meet with her. I hope I don't leave a bad impression or anything. Don't worry, you'll do great. You always do. I playfully shove his arm. That sounds so cringy. But it's true. He smiles while picking up his chopsticks and bowl of rice. So are you going tomorrow? Yeah, hopefully I can see her tomorrow. If you're finished by then, I think most of us are going to study in the library after school for the big final. Yeah, I forgot how close that final is. I smack my forehead. Yeah, I'll definitely come and join you guys after I'm done. Izuku nods his head as we both sit in a mutual silence, just enjoying our cold soba. Y/N's POV, my meeting with my internship agency went well. I have a feeling my interview went as best as it could, and now I just wait for a response from them, keeping my fingers crossed. Her agency is right in the middle of the city, so it took a lot of maneuvering around to find it with all the similar buildings. I stand at the J-Rail station waiting for the next train to arrive. What I couldn't get out of my head was what some of the workers in the agency were talking about before I came in, and they stopped. I looked down at my phone and search up overhaul on the internet. There were barely any photos of him. The guy in the agency was right, there isn't much about him to find on the internet of his background. His appearance seemed familiar, which was shocking to me, but I couldn't remember from where. His name is Chisaki, but apparently his quirk name is Overhaul, according to one article I found. It had to do with ties to a missing little girl, and he was the leading suspect. The train arrives and it looks packed since it's rush hour with everyone heading home from work. I step on the train and try to stay in my personal bubble as people crowd around me. I love going into the city and all, but this was what I hated the most: crowded trains. I stare down at my phone reading more about Chisaki when I look up and meet eyes with the guy standing across from me. My heart beats faster when I recognize the yellow color in his eyes from the photos I just looked at. It couldn't be him here. But out of all places and times. He doesn't wear his beak mask, instead it's just a black face mask that covers his nose and mouth. I quickly try to look away without making it obvious that I figured out who he is. It didn't look like anyone else around us seemed to notice, which concerned me. I could feel his sharp gaze not leaving me, making me shift in place. I decide to move to a different train cart, so I start to squeeze myself through the crowded space. Sorry, excuse me. The next thing I know, I feel a tight grasp on my wrist. I turn my head to see him staring at me again while holding on to me, not letting me escape. I gasp quietly by how tight he was holding onto my wrist. He then pulls me up to him so I'm near his chest and his mouth near my ear. "I've been looking for you," he whispers. His words send a chill down my spine. Of course, the one time I go into the city alone, I run into one of the most dangerous villains. I try to shake my hand out of his grip, but he just tightens it. "I wouldn't try to do that if I were you. What do you want from me?" I hiss, causing a few people around us to give us glances. Chisaki waits until they mind their business again when he reaches into his blazer pocket to pull out a bullet with a needle on it. My eyes widen. "You see this? Just one hit with this and your quirk will be gone in an instant." My body tenses up as I stare at the small amount of liquid in the bullet that could ruin me forever in 1 second. "However, I don't want you to lose your quirk," he continues. "How do you know who I am?" I ask, keeping my voice low. The train arrives at its next stop and people start to file out, causing him not to answer my question. He takes my wrist and so I have no choice but to follow behind him. We're 3 stops before I was supposed to get off from my house, making me nervous about my unfamiliar surroundings. People give us stares as they see him drag me behind him. I try to hide my face in attempt to not be noticed. Once we're out of the underground station, he takes me down this dark alleyway and I immediately think this is the end of me. We eventually get to his hidden underground headquarters and the guards all looked like they were in a bird cult of some sort. "Take her to the testing room," Chisaki says, releasing me to the guards. "Testing room." "Wait," I shout before getting thrown at 2 guards. They hold me by each arm and lead me through the building. I get a look of what's inside and I see one room completely white being watched over by guards also in all white besides their beak masks. Inside they are watching over a small girl with long silver hair who is just playing with her toys. I swallow hard, wondering what this place was and what his intentions are. Izuku's POV: all of us are in the library at school studying for our big final in a couple days. Our hero final. I keep checking my phone to see that it's way past the time Y/N said she'd be done talking to her internship company. I sit back in my chair and sigh. "Have you guys heard from Y/N? Kirishima and Kaminari shake their heads. "You haven't?" "No, she's not even responding to my texts." I scroll through our texts while scratching my head. "Calm your ties and stop being clingy," Kaken tells me while dropping his textbook on the wooden table. I wasn't trying to be clingy, I'm just worried." "Don't listen to him, Midoriya." Kirishima pats my back. "He has no empathy." "I'm going to the bathroom." Kaken stands up and storms out of the library. "She said she was going to come to the library and study with us when she finished." I say, "I feel like something's wrong." Ida and Uraraka exchange looks. "Maybe she got caught in traffic." "It's rush hour," Ida brings up. "I'll try calling her," Kirishima says, pulling out his phone. We all fall silent and watch as he waits for her to pick up. After a couple seconds it goes straight to voicemail. "Y/N, you better respond to us right now, we're worried about you," he says into his speaker, then hangs up. "Well, what do we do if she never responds?" Kaminari asks. "I mean, we could ask Aizawa and see what he thinks. Or call her parents. But we shouldn't get them involved yet if we don't exactly know the situation." I furrow my eyebrows and place my chin between my thumb and index finger while trying to figure out what could have happened. "What's she doing in the city anyways?" Kaminari asks. "She had an internship meeting." Uraraka looks at me in shock. She's already getting internship calls. "From who?" "Dang, I mean, I'm not surprised, especially with a quirk like hers." Kirishima crosses his arms. "Are you guys still talking about Y/N? Kaken enters the room again while slumping in his chair. "Yeah, she's not responding to our calls." "Well, if she is in danger, I'm sure she'd be fine with that quirk of hers." "I think you're missing the point here, Bakug," Uraraka slowly says. "What point is there to miss?" "Whatever I'm studying over at that table," Kaken mutters while picking up his stuff and moving. The rest of us stay put and just think to ourselves about the situation. "You don't think something really bad could have happened, do you?" Kaminari asks. "Who knows, she went into the city, all sorts of weird stuff can happen. We then hear footsteps come into the room, making us all turn our heads to see Shinso standing there. We all stare at him, waiting for him to say something since it looked like he was searching for someone. Kaken raises his head from reading his notes and furrows his eyebrows across the way. "Did you need help with something?" Ida asks. He looks around the room, then shakes his head, "No." And with that he just exits the library. What was that all about? Kirishima says under his breath. I continue to stare at the place he was standing but don't think anything of it. Your POV. I slowly open my eyes and squint from the ceiling light above me. I gasp and sit up, making my head P&D, and feel a sharp sting in the inside of my elbow. I look down to see a bruised mark from what looks like a needle used to inject in me. I find myself on a full-size bed in a fully furnished room. It looked like any normal bedroom, just without any windows and natural light. I tuck my hair behind my ear and pat down my pockets and feel my phone on the inside of my school jacket. I fumble to take it out and check my screen to see my notifications filled with missed calls and texts. I hadn't checked my phone since after my interview yesterday. I try to call Izuku, but I have zero reception. Damn it. I shout, trying to reach him over and over again, but it was no use. I put my phone back in my pocket and step off the bed to search the room. There's an exit in which I try to open, but it's locked from the outside. I wriggle the handle up and down, and sure enough, it won't open. I hear a beep and I move my head in the direction of the sound to see a camera in the corner of the ceiling with a red light above it, flashing. I furrow my eyebrows at it while seeing the lens adjust. I'm being watched. I raise my hand up and focus on the lens. My hand begins to shake and my thoughts narrow down, eventually making the glass on the lens shatter. I jump back as the glass falls to the floor, scattering everywhere. I look back up at the camera and see the red light turned off and the lens stop moving. Chisaki's POV. The last thing I see is 𝐸/N stare into the camera with her hand up towards it, and the screen goes static. Chrono frantically types on the keyboard to try and fix it. "Sir, I think she broke the camera. I can't seem to get it back on." I hum to myself, still staring at the empty screen. "Her quirk really is something." Chrono looks up at me. "I was just thinking out loud," I say, heading out of the security room and towards the bedroom. 𝐸/N's POV. A few minutes after breaking the camera, I hear the lock on the door click. I quickly grab the largest shard of glass I could find from the ground and hold it in front of me. Chisaki comes in the room, this time with his beak mask. He puts his hands in his pockets while coming towards me, making me back away. He scans the ground and sighs. "Look what you did. You made such a mess." "Why am I here?" I ask. "Have you ever heard about me?" He doesn't answer my question. I look around everywhere besides into his eyes. "Maybe a little." "What have you heard?" I think whether or not I should tell him what I've read about him in the news or bring up the little girl I saw earlier. Maybe she was just his child. But he seems way too young to even have one. He only looked a few years older than me. "That you go by overhaul," I end up saying. He doesn't say anything and continues to stare at me, making me more uncomfortable by the second. He then kicks a few pieces of glass in my direction, causing me to move out of the way. I tighten my grip around the shard in my hand, feeling it start to cut through the first layer of my skin. "Do you remember your fight in New York?" His questions were all over the place, making me confused and irritated. I think back to almost a year ago, and clearly remember the flesh-eating monster. He sees that I did go back to that memory, and he continues. "Well, what if I told you that you killed one of my members of the Yakuza?" My body freezes in place when he says that word. "Why Yakuza?" I say under my breath. "Oh, so you do know about us," he responds, hearing what I said. "Oh, poor Kaito, he was such a great addition to the group. But he was in New York, and the Yakuza is a Japanese crime group." He cuts me off. "I know, so you're probably wondering why he was in America. I sent him there in the first place to get in contact with one of the, I don't know what you guys call it over there, a mafia. I'm from Yuzudafu." I spit at him. The F would I know about mafias? I was about to say, "Your Japanese is really good." I throw the shard using my quirk, having it move like a dart towards his chest. It was almost too fast, even for me to notice. But a piece of the floor shoots up from the ground, causing the shard to break into even smaller pieces against the cement. He just used his quirk on me. He rubs his temple while moving out from behind the cement shield. I was in the middle of talking. He sighs. He rolls up the sleeve of his black button-down and I see him scratch his arm creating a rash, but he covers it with his white glove. Why am I here? I raise my voice. A few seconds later one of the guards rushes in, who I remembered taking me away yesterday, wearing the white gown and a bird mask covering his entire face. Another comes in that I don't see until he appears around the bed and notice a tiny black-looking crow. So should we put her in the white room? The white-dressed guard asks Chisaki. No, Chrono, I'm not done with her yet. Chisaki, I don't like her. The crow-looking guy points at me. I shove my foot at him. I can send you flying right here, right now. Try me, you beach. Mimic, please. Chisaki puts a hand out at him. At least get along with the new Yakuza member. Huh? I blurt. Chrono looks at me and laughs. Oh, did he not tell you yet? You're going to be working with us now, Chisaki says. You think would ever work for the Yakuza? Well, you're insane if you do. I don't care if you think we're all insane, he says walking out of the room, but just know that you have no option or say here. Before he shuts the door, I put my palm out and prevent him from shutting it. He looks back and furrows his eyebrows as he fights against the force I'm trying to use to open it. Eventually I pull the door out of its hinges and it falls to the floor. The three of them stare at me in the now doorless entrance. What are we going to do with her? Chrono asks. She can break anything. You're right, put her in the white room. Eri is in there right now, Mimic says. Then put Eri back in the testing room, we need to take more samples from her again anyways. Todoroki's POV. I walk into school with my hands in my pocket, not really paying attention to my surroundings. A group of general class students walk past me and their conversation catches me. Yeah, a student in class 1A was reported missing last night, one of them said. For real? I feel like the students in that class are highly targeted by villains these days. I don't know who it was, but apparently they never came home from an event of some sort. I purse my lips by the rumor. I didn't know who it could possibly be though, or if I should even believe it. I hear a familiar grunt from behind, so I turn around and see Bakugo. He just glares at me while he walks faster to go ahead of me. Bakugo, what rumor is everyone talking about? I ask him. The F should I know? He spat. I just stare at his back while he walks in front of me now. We eventually get to the main classroom, which is louder than usual for the morning. Everyone had a look of fear on their face. Todoroki, did you hear? Mina runs up to me. No. 𝐸/N's missing. I had no words to say and I just walk past her towards Midoriya to see him expressionless while staring at his phone screen. I stand over him at his desk, but he doesn't even look over. What's going on? I ask him. He finally looks at me. I don't know what happened to her. Wasn't she at your guys' study session yesterday? She was supposed to, but when she never showed, we knew something was up, especially after she wasn't answering her phone. Why is there such a big fuss about her anyways? Bakugo interrupts him as he throws his backpack on the floor at his desk. You know this is serious, right? I tell him. Like I said before, I'm sure she can handle herself because of her quirks, so why is everyone so worried? Midoriya and I just stare at him, not knowing how to respond to him. I sigh and shake my head. You really are insensitive. Shut up, you hybrid. Everyone sit down and listen to your class president. Ida shouts over us. I head over to my seat while Bakugo continues to give me the stink eye. The class finally quiets down and pays attention to Ida. I know we are all worried about 𝐸/N right now as she's been filed to the police as missing, but we need to stay calm. Aizawa and the rest of the pro teachers are getting involved with the case, and I was told to tell you all that we are to stay out of it whatsoever, Ida formally explains to us. I look over at Midoriya and see him staring blankly at his desk. On our end, we just need to continue with our focus on school and studying for our final exam that's coming up, so please, let's listen to what our heroes and teachers have told us and follow their instructions. POV. I get to work 1 minute before my shift starts as usual. I run in behind the counter and throw my Yankees hat off. In almost late as usual, my coworker, Jake, teases me. Yeah, and what about it? I smirk back at him. He just shakes his head at me while I go to grab my apron from the back room. Of course my manager is there and she gives me a glare of annoyance. I give her a shy smile in return while I clock in and sneak back out to the front. Can you help at the register? Jake asks as he uses the espresso machine. I nod while heading over towards the customer that's been waiting. What can I get started for you? I ask while tying the black apron around my waist. Can I just get a green tea? The girl asks. Sure, iced or hot? Hot please. She takes off her hat revealing her full face. I get a glimpse and quickly look back down to type in her order. That's $2.75 and she takes out $3 bills and hands them to me as I return her a quarter. She then places it in the tip jar and turns around without saying anything else. I watch as she carefully finds a seat at the table in front of the window that looks out at the busy streets. She then pulls out a book and starts to read. Jake hits the side of my arm making me wince. What is it? Did you not hear me? Was the tea iced or hot? He asks. I look at him. I'll make it, don't worry about it. Thankfully there weren't any others in line so I could make the drink. I get one of our glass mugs and pour the hot tea in it. I place the mug on a wooden tray as the tea steams up the glass. I carefully walk around the counter and deliver her the tea. She looks up at me and just nods while taking the mug off the tray. Thanks? No problem, I respond before walking back, holding the now empty tray in my hand. I tried to glance at the book she was reading but she had it covered with her sleeve. I go back behind the counter and keep catching myself looking at her. What is it? Jake asks, trying to figure out what I'm staring at. I look at him and pretend to clean. Nothing? Nothing my butt, he laughs. I know when you're not focused. Sure you do. It's the girl that ordered the tea, isn't it? I furrow my eyebrows at him. What do you mean? She's always here. He nods in her direction. Really? I've never noticed. I stare at the back of her as she reads. Yeah, she's always here reading. I don't know if she's in school or not because she looks pretty young. Maybe around your age. Maybe she's taking online courses too, I softly say out loud. I don't know, why don't you go ask her? He jokes, then pokes me as a sign to help the next customer in line. I shake my head out of my thoughts and walk over to the register. I run my hand through my hair while helping the customer. What can I get started for you? The girl was in the cafe for almost 2 hours. She had finished her drink long ago, but as I clean the espresso machine, I see her come up and return the empty mug. She doesn't look at me or anything, and just turns around and leaves. Thank you. I shout but internally slap myself. She still didn't turn around and just leaves through the doors. Jake had got off his shift an hour ago, so it was just me behind the counter. The cafe had quieted down a lot, making her and one other person the only ones that were left. I take the glass mug and begin to wash it under warm water. Ever since that day, I began to notice her more often in the cafe. It'd always be the same thing. She'd come with her book, order a different drink, and then stay for a few hours. I also noticed that I started showing up to work almost 10 minutes earlier, making everyone surprised by my sudden change in routine. However, after a few days passed by, there was no sign of the girl. I still didn't even know her name. Until one day finally she returns. It was a weird lighting that day, one that kind of depicts something spontaneous could happen. I see her stand at the register ready to order, and so I ring her up. This time as she orders her drink, I decide to ask her something I never did before. Can I get a name for the order? She looks at me with a hint of confusion as to why just now I take names for orders. It's Y/N, she says in a very soft tone. Despite never having a full conversation with her, it felt as though I knew her personally. She goes to her usual seat by the window, and I notice she takes out a notebook this time. One I've never seen before, because she always brought the same book to read. I make her coffee and walk up to her holding it. Y/N, I say her name. She turns around and wipes her eyes, trying not to make eye contact. That's me, she says, sniffling. I pause, taken aback whether she was okay or not, but I let it go as nothing. Coolio, I have your drink. I hand her the cup. Thanks, she mutters before quickly turning around. For some reason I stood there because what was in the journal had caught my attention. There was a sketch and notes written about someone's quirk. I didn't realize how long I've been staring when she slowly turns around, seeing I never left. She gives me a judgmental stare. Sorry, it just looked interesting and I started reading it, I stutter. She continues to observe me, making me nervous. So, is that supposed to be you? I ask curiously, pointing to the page, trying to make conversation. Don't you have work to do? She snaps at me. I laugh at her remark. Yeah, but I was just curious. She pauses, then slowly says, "Yo, it's me. Wow, is your quirk really the force?" Meh. I'm jealous. Mine's not even half that amazing. I try to lighten her mood. She doesn't look happy talking to me as she gives me a weird stare. Sorry, you probably hate me. Well, enjoy your drink. I salute to her. I turn around and exhale by that really awkward conversation. I just wanted to get to know her, but I should have just left her alone and minded my own business. I go back behind the counter and notice that Jake was watching the whole thing. He has the look on his face that shows he's trying not to burst into laughter. Go ahead and laugh, I don't care, I tell him. That was pretty bad, he whispers. I get it. I shove him, leave me alone. I hear Jake laughing silently to himself while I clean up the countertop. I clench the towel harder by the second as I wipe it down. This man is so annoying, I mutter under my breath. After 5 minutes from that awkward encounter with 𝗧𝗪𝗎𝗎, a man's yell snapped me out of my thoughts. What the hell is that? Jake and I turn our heads to see everyone rush to the window where 𝗧𝗪𝗎𝗎 is sitting. Jake drops his sponge and wipes his hands on his apron before he walks out from behind the counter to see for himself. I continue to stand behind the counter watching this sudden chaotic scene. I was still trying to process what was happening when I see 𝗧𝗪𝗎𝗎 stand up and run out of the cafe. Where is she going? Someone yells. That's when I finally run from behind the counter and see a brutal scene in the distance where 𝗧𝗪𝗎𝗎 was running towards. Ever since that day, I never saw her at the cafe again. I was interviewed for the TV news channel that day the incident happened to talk about her. I still wonder if she ever saw it for herself. However, she rarely crossed my mind as time went by. A few months have passed by and it's another day of just working at the cafe. I wash some glasses with soap and water and hang them to dry when Jake nudges me. Yeah, I ask. He shows me his phone and it's an article about the recent news of the top hero school in Japan, UA. I turn off the sink water and wipe my hands dry. What about UA? Why are you showing me this? I ask. You remember that girl that always showed up to the cafe a long time ago? Her name pops into my head and I take the phone out of his hand to read the article for myself. The headline read, UA's Class 1A student missing after internship meeting. I scroll through the article and see the name 𝗧𝗪𝗎𝗎𝗎 as the missing student. She went to UA this whole time. I ask. Not just that, but she's in Class 1A, Jake says. You know who else is in that class? I shake my head obliviously. Shoto Todoroki and Izuku Midoriya. I just shrug, not knowing who he was talking about. Man, you've never heard of them. Their sports festival match was top-notch. Wait. I stop him from going off topic. So she's actually missing? Yeah, isn't that insane? It didn't even feel that long ago when she was always here. I hope they find her. But why would someone kidnap her? Jake looks at the ceiling. I mean, if you think about it, all the Class 1A students are highly targeted by villains these days because of their quirks. Especially the ones always seen on the media. I didn't know how Jake knew all of this. I guess he is a big fanatic when it comes to pro heroes and people's quirks. Jake still dreams about being a pro hero someday, as he always tells me. As for me, I've just come to accept that I'm going to live the normal life of someone who will just get a job where my quirk can be useful, which is hard to find these days. What job needs someone whose quirk is to change the pH of a substance? Besides maybe a chemist, I live a pretty normal life and don't use my quirk that often because I don't see a reason why I would ever need to. I just play soccer, go to work, do homework, play video games and then sleep. You should have applied to UA, Jake brings up. Why would I do that? With your quirk, you could kill someone if you wanted to by making their drink super acidic or basic or some SHT like that. I don't think so. Man, so he takes his phone back from me as we both get back to work. That night, I decided to read up more on 𝗧𝗪𝗎𝗎 since I saw she was all over the news, especially in Japan. I couldn't read most of the articles that were through Japanese news stations, however. I just sat in bed with my computer and realized she got into UA after the incident that happened here. I wasn't surprised though. I saw her use her quirk for myself, and just by that one time of seeing it, I was convinced that her power is one of a kind in this world. I stretch my arms above my head and check the clock to see it's almost 1 a.m. Despite never having actually known her, I still wonder what her life is like. I just hope wherever she is, someone will find her. Izuku's POV. Another day has gone by with no sign or contact from Y/N. The sun is already setting, making me angry that there's nothing I can do to help with the situation. The pros had specifically told us to not get involved and just continue to focus on our studies. My jaw clenches and my steps get faster as I walk through the empty neighborhood. I finally let out all my pent-out anger in a yell towards the orange peaceful sky. After 3 seconds the air is completely silent again with just the echo of ravens cawing. "What is wrong with you?" A familiar voice comes out of nowhere from behind me. I take in a deep breath and turn around to see Kaken, who had been walking behind me the whole time on his way home too. He stops in his tracks and keeps a good distance from me. He sighs and takes out one of his earbuds. "I could hear you through my music," he says with noticeable irritation in his tone. I continue to look at him with obvious anger in my eyes as he notices and his expression changes. "Why were you glaring at me like that?" "I'm not," I mutter and turn back around to continue home. "What did you say? Speak up, you little beach." I just ignore him, not wanting to interact with him right now. "Ignoring me now?" He adjusts his grip on his book bag that's swung over the top of his shoulder. That was the first time I ever really got mad at him, besides the time he threw my journal out the window in middle school. I take the turn towards my apartment, making us go separate ways finally. Despite the weather and the day being so nice, I couldn't enjoy it the least. My apartment complex is in sight now, and a figure standing near the front entrance catches my attention. My steps slow down and I finally recognize who it is by their purple hair. "Shinso?" I ask while approaching him slowly. He turns his head and looks at me without saying anything. "What are you doing here, and how do you know where I live?" I feel a sense of danger in his presence at the moment. He's in his school uniform still and his hands are tucked in his pockets. "That's not important." He avoids my question. "Why? I came here to talk to you about Y/N. Once he mentions her name, my thoughts become clouded once again. "What about her? You two are dating, right?" He folds his arms. Why yes, what is this about exactly?" My face heats up. "You should break up with her." Those words that I thought I'd never hear make my body tense up. I was already enough in a bad mood today, and hearing that sentence come out of his mouth didn't make it any better. I look into his deep purple eyes and furrow my eyebrows. "And why should I listen to you?" I say with a hint of anger in my tone that caught even myself by surprise. "Who do you think you are for saying that? I'm just giving you, let's say," he thinks to himself, "a red flag, I suppose." "Sorry, but I think I can make decisions for myself." I start to walk past him. "So don't try and interfere with other people's relationships." He just chuckles, making me bite the inside of my cheek. "That's funny you're so confident about that," he sighs. I turn around to look at him once again, but he already started walking away and puts his hand up. "Don't say that I didn't warn you," are his final words to me. I stand out in front of my apartment building for another minute, overthinking everything that had just happened during that interaction. The wind that pushes my hair in my face breaks my focus. I shake my head, trying to stop myself, since overthinking just makes everything worse for me. I take the stairs instead to help clear my head before I head inside my house. I unlock the front door and carefully place my sneakers off to the side before coming in. "Oh, Izuku," I hear my mom say from the couch. I walk over and see she's watching some drama on TV. "Hi," I force a smile before heading straight to my room. "Is everything good?" She notices my unusual behavior right off the bat. I stop and turn around and put on a big smile for her. "Don't worry, Mom. Everything's okay." I can tell she's a bit taken aback by my weird smile, but she doesn't ask any further questions and just lets me go. I gently shut my door and set my backpack against the foot of my bed while sitting on the edge of it. I take out my phone and open my messages with Y/N to still see no response from her. I toss my phone onto my bed face down and sigh. Just rechecking our messages continuously won't make her respond to you, I tell myself. I sit in silence, letting my thoughts take over once again. I stand up and brush my hair back with both of my hands, shaking my head. I then reach down and unzip my backpack to pull out my All Might wallet. I come out of my room just as soon as I entered it and my mom looks at me. I'm going to the grocery store, do you need anything? I ask while putting my wallet in my pocket. I don't think I do, what are you getting? I've just been craving some snacks, that's all, I say while going towards the front door. Well, come home before dinner. She her head back towards the TV. I nod while putting back on my sneakers in which the soles were still warm from having just worn them. I lock the front door from behind and toss my keys in my pocket as well. I'm still wearing my school uniform, I had just realized, but minus my blazer. I loosen the red tie from around my neck so it's not as constricting. Think to myself. I walk down the narrow street of a nearby neighborhood, staying on one side of the street in case bikers and cars come by. I look down at my shoes while I walk when I hear a conversation ahead of me that catches my attention. Don't listen to what everyone says about you. With a quirk like mine, I might as well be quirkless. I look up and see two young kids walking in my direction, heading home from school. It was one girl and one guy and they look to be around 8 or 10. The girl has an obvious expression of sadness while the boy is doing everything he can to cheer her up. Don't say that about your quirk. Just be happy with what you have and you can make something great out of it, I promise. The girl looks at him with a different kind of expression and shyly smiles while looking away. They pass by me and I can't help but want to continue to listen to their conversation, but I keep on walking towards the store. I enter through the automatic sliding doors, hearing the sound of carts rolling on the hard floor. I grab a basket and head towards the produce section first. I grab a couple of peaches, making sure none of them were too ripe, and then a basket of strawberries. I trudge over to the freezer section and stand in front of the closed doors. I look through the glass and see the box of frozen red bean taiyaki. I open the door, causing the glass to fog up on the inside, and grab the box and throw it in my basket with the rest of my random snacks. Chronos POV, I'm in line to check out right now. I hold the phone that's pressing between my ear and shoulder as I double-check the items in my basket. Did you get the salmon rice ball I asked for? Chisaki asks on the other end. I couldn't find any, so instead I got you. What grocery store doesn't have them? This is why I don't send you out to do groceries. Why can't you do anything right? But sir, I really did look and I cut myself off when I notice a familiar boy heading to the checkout line as well. What is it? Chisaki asks through the phone, knowing something caught me off guard. He just recognized someone. I get a better look of the boy and he notices me staring, so I quickly look away. Even though I'm in a different attire without my mask, I can sense the boy continue to stare me down with suspicion. I think he's one of the students from UA, I say lowly. There's a pause over the phone before Chisaki finally says, just hurry up and get back, sneezing face.